Your subconscious prepares emotions before you know why. One of the creepiest things about the human mind is that your emotions often begin forming before your conscious mind even understands what is happening. Long before you logically process a situation, your subconscious has already scanned the environment, compared it to thousands of stored memories, detected possible threats or rewards, and started preparing an emotional response in the background. This means fear, discomfort, attraction, anxiety, or even trust can begin building inside you seconds before you can explain where the feeling came from. This hidden process is constantly active beneath awareness. You may suddenly feel uneasy walking into a room, only to later realize someone inside reminds your brain of a person who once hurt or intimidated you. Sometimes your chest tightens before receiving bad news because your subconscious noticed tiny changes in someone's tone, posture, or facial expression before your conscious mind paid attention. Your body reacts first, and your awareness catches up afterward. Neuroscientists believe this happens because the emotional centers of the brain process information faster than the logical centers responsible for reasoning. Survival depended on quick emotional reactions long before humans developed deep analytical thinking. Your subconscious still operates with that ancient wiring today, constantly predicting emotional danger before certainty exists. This is why certain people instantly make you feel safe, while others create tension you cannot explain. It is why some conversations feel draining before anything negative is even said. In many cases, your subconscious has already decided how you should feel long before your conscious mind begins searching for reasons. Your subconscious recognizes danger before your eyes fully process it. One of the most unsettling abilities of the subconscious mind is its capacity to detect danger before your conscious awareness fully understands what you are seeing. Your brain constantly absorbs enormous amounts of information every second: tiny facial expressions, unusual movements, shifts in sound, changes in body language, environmental details, and most of it never reaches conscious thought. Instead, your subconscious silently analyzes everything in the background, searching for patterns linked to past fear, survival, and threat. This is why you can suddenly feel uneasy around someone before they have done anything openly wrong. Sometimes a person's stare lasts slightly too long, their smile feels emotionally empty, or their movements trigger something ancient inside your nervous system. Your conscious mind may not immediately notice these details, but your subconscious already has. The emotional reaction arrives first. Logic comes later, trying to explain it. Scientists believe this rapid threat detection comes from older survival systems in the brain that evolved long before rational thinking developed. Early humans who detected danger quickly were more likely to survive. Because of this, your subconscious still prioritizes survival over accuracy. It would rather make you anxious over a false alarm than risk missing a real threat. This hidden system explains why some places instantly feel wrong the moment you enter them. It explains why your body sometimes freezes before your mind understands what frightened you. Your heart rate may increase, your muscles tighten, or your breathing shifts without permission. Even in modern life, your subconscious remains an ancient guard, standing watch every second, constantly scanning for danger before your conscious mind fully sees the world around it. Your subconscious makes familiar faces feel more trustworthy than honest ones. One of the strangest weaknesses of the human mind is that familiarity often feels safer than truth. Your subconscious is naturally drawn toward what it recognizes, even when what feels familiar is unhealthy, manipulative, or dishonest. Long before logic evaluates someone's character, your subconscious begins measuring how emotionally recognizable they feel based on past experiences, emotional memories, and social conditioning. This is why complete strangers can sometimes feel instantly trustworthy for reasons you cannot explain. Their voice, facial expressions, body language, or personality may unconsciously resemble someone your brain already associates with comfort, authority, affection, or safety. At the same time, genuinely honest people may feel uncomfortable simply because they are unfamiliar to your emotional system. Your subconscious often mistakes familiarity for security. Psychologists call this the mere exposure effect, where repeated exposure increases emotional preference. The more familiar something becomes, the safer it appears inside the brain. This ancient mental shortcut helped humans survive by encouraging attachment to known groups and environments. But in modern life, this same wiring can become dangerous because your subconscious does not always separate what is familiar from what is healthy. This explains why some people repeatedly enter toxic relationships that resemble emotional patterns from childhood. Even pain can feel strangely comforting when it is predictable. A manipulative person who reminds your subconscious of home may feel more trustworthy than a genuinely kind person who feels emotionally unfamiliar. Con artists and manipulators understand this deeply. They mirror speech, opinions, humor, and emotional energy to create artificial familiarity very quickly. Once the subconscious recognizes pieces of itself in another person, defenses lower automatically. In many cases, trust is not built through truth first. It is built through emotional recognition long before conscious judgment begins. Your subconscious remembers smells tied to old emotions. One of the creepiest powers of the subconscious mind is its ability to store emotions inside smells for years without your awareness. A single scent can suddenly unlock memories, feelings, and emotional states you thought were long forgotten. Unlike ordinary memories that fade over time, smell is deeply connected to the emotional centers of the brain, which is why certain odors can instantly transport you back into a moment from your past with disturbing intensity. You may walk past a certain perfume and suddenly feel sadness without understanding why. The smell of old furniture, cigarette smoke, rain, soap, hospitals, or even food cooking in another room can trigger emotions buried so deeply that your conscious mind struggles to explain them. Sometimes the reaction is comforting. Other times it feels unsettling, almost like your body remembers something before your thoughts do. Scientists believe this happens because smell is processed very closely to the amygdala and hippocampus, the parts of the brain responsible for emotion and memory. Unlike sights or sounds, smells bypass certain logical filters and connect directly to emotional storage systems. This makes scent one of the strongest subconscious triggers in human psychology. That is why childhood memories often return through smell more powerfully than through photographs. A scent tied to safety, love, fear, loneliness, or trauma can instantly reactivate the emotional state connected to it. Your heartbeat changes, your mood shifts, and your nervous system responds before you consciously identify the memory. This hidden mechanism quietly influences daily life more than most people realize. Attraction, comfort, trust, anxiety, and nostalgia are often shaped by subconscious scent associations built years earlier. In many cases, your emotions are not reacting to the present moment at all. They are reacting to emotional ghosts attached to smells your subconscious never forgot. Your subconscious changes your posture based on hidden insecurity. One of the most unsettling things about the subconscious mind is that it quietly reveals your emotional state through your body long before you consciously admit what you feel. Hidden insecurity does not stay trapped inside the mind. Your subconscious slowly pushes it outward into posture, movement, tension, and physical behavior without your permission. The body often exposes fears the mouth tries to hide. When someone feels judged, inferior, anxious, or emotionally unsafe, the subconscious immediately begins adjusting posture in subtle ways. Shoulders may drop slightly, eye contact becomes shorter, the neck tightens, arms cross defensively. The body physically shrinks to avoid attention or conflict. Most people never consciously decide to do these things. The nervous system simply reacts automatically based on emotional interpretation happening beneath awareness. This survival mechanism developed thousands of years ago when physical posture communicated dominance, submission, danger, or vulnerability within social groups. Even today, your subconscious still uses the body as a silent language system. A confident emotional state naturally expands posture, while insecurity unconsciously compresses it. What makes this especially disturbing is how quickly the subconscious responds. You may enter a room filled with successful, attractive, or intimidating people and suddenly notice yourself standing differently without realizing why. Your subconscious has already measured the social environment and adjusted your physical behavior to protect you from rejection, embarrassment, or emotional exposure. At the same time, other people subconsciously read these signals as well. Humans constantly interpret posture without consciously thinking about it. Confidence, fear, tension, insecurity, and discomfort are often communicated physically before a single word is spoken. This means your subconscious is continuously broadcasting emotional information through your body every moment of the day. Even when you try to appear calm, confident, or unaffected, hidden insecurity often leaks through posture first, silently revealing feelings you may not even fully understand yourself. Your subconscious makes you copy another person's tone without noticing. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it begins adapting to the emotional tone of other people without your awareness. During conversations, your subconscious constantly studies the voices, speech rhythms, emotional energy, and reactions of the people around you. Without realizing it, you begin adjusting your own tone to match theirs. This silent imitation happens automatically, often before conscious thought even notices the change. If someone speaks softly and calmly, your voice may slowly lower to match their pace. Around confident or dominant personalities, your tone may become more careful, respectful, or restrained. When speaking with excited people, your energy often rises naturally. In tense situations, your voice may harden or become defensive without deliberate intention. Your subconscious is constantly synchronizing with the emotional atmosphere around you. Psychologists believe this behavior comes from deep social survival instincts. Early humans survived through group connection and emotional alignment. Mimicking tone helped people bond, reduce conflict, and build trust within tribes. Even today, your subconscious treats social harmony as emotionally important, so it automatically mirrors communication patterns to create connection and avoid rejection. This explains why certain people can strongly influence your emotional state without directly controlling you. Calm individuals can make entire rooms feel relaxed, while anxious or aggressive personalities quietly spread tension through conversations. Emotional energy becomes contagious because human beings subconsciously absorb and reflect each other constantly. Manipulators often exploit this process intentionally. By controlling their tone carefully, they can influence how others feel during conversations. A calm voice can create false trust. An aggressive tone can create fear and submission. A warm tone can lower emotional defenses quickly. Most people believe they are fully controlling the way they speak, but in reality, your subconscious is constantly adjusting your tone based on the emotional signals surrounding you every second. Your subconscious predicts rejection before anything happens. One of the darkest habits of the subconscious mind is its tendency to anticipate rejection long before any real rejection occurs. Before conversations begin, before messages are answered, before people even react, your subconscious is already scanning for signs that you may not be accepted, valued, or wanted. This prediction system operates automatically beneath awareness, quietly shaping your emotions, behavior, and confidence without permission. The reason this happens is deeply connected to survival. Human beings evolved in tribes where rejection once carried serious consequences. Being excluded from the group could mean danger, isolation, or death. Because of this, the subconscious became highly sensitive to social threats. Even today, your brain treats emotional rejection as something far more dangerous than logic knows it truly is. This hidden fear can reveal itself in subtle but powerful ways. You may hesitate to speak because your subconscious already expects judgment. You may avoid texting first because part of you predicts being ignored. Sometimes you withdraw emotionally before someone even has the chance to hurt you. In many situations, your subconscious would rather protect you from possible rejection than risk emotional exposure. What makes this especially unsettling is that the mind often creates evidence to support its own fears. A delayed reply feels personal. A neutral facial expression feels cold. Silence feels like disapproval. Your subconscious constantly searches for tiny signals that confirm the emotional danger it already predicted. Over time, this creates invisible self-sabotage. People begin avoiding opportunities, relationships, and vulnerability not because rejection happened, but because their subconscious convinced them it eventually would. The prediction becomes so emotionally convincing that the body reacts as though the rejection is already real. Anxiety rises, confidence drops, and emotional walls appear before reality even has the chance to unfold. Your subconscious makes you avoid people who remind you of past pain. One of the most disturbing things about the subconscious mind is that it quietly protects old emotional wounds without asking for permission. Long after painful experiences are over, your subconscious continues scanning for anything that resembles the people, emotions, or situations connected to that pain. This means someone can trigger discomfort inside you without ever actually harming you, simply because they unconsciously remind your mind of someone who once did. Sometimes the resemblance is obvious. A similar voice, facial expression, attitude, or tone can instantly create tension in your body. Other times the connection is far more subtle. The person may carry the same emotional energy as someone who betrayed, criticized, manipulated, or abandoned you years ago. Your subconscious notices these patterns immediately, even when your conscious mind cannot explain why you suddenly feel distant, irritated, nervous, or emotionally closed off. This protective mechanism exists because the brain is designed for survival, not fairness. Once emotional pain becomes linked to certain behaviors or personality traits, your subconscious treats similar signals as potential danger in the future. It would rather push you away from innocent people than risk reliving the same emotional wound again. That is why some people struggle to trust genuinely kind individuals after betrayal. The subconscious becomes hyper-alert to emotional similarities, searching for signs of repeated pain. Sometimes this creates self-sabotage without awareness. You avoid closeness, withdraw emotionally, or feel uncomfortable around people who actually care about you because your subconscious associates vulnerability with danger. In many cases, the people you instinctively avoid are not dangerous themselves. They simply awaken emotional memories your subconscious never fully resolved. While your conscious mind tries to live in the present, your subconscious quietly keeps reacting to emotional ghosts from the past. Your subconscious stores fear in your body before your mind names it. One of the creepiest things about fear is that your body often feels it long before your conscious mind understands what is happening. The subconscious does not wait for logical explanation. The moment it senses possible danger, emotional pain, rejection, or uncertainty, It begins storing tension directly inside the body. Muscles tighten, breathing changes, the stomach contracts, the chest feels heavy, and the nervous system quietly shifts into survival mode before conscious awareness fully catches up. This is why people sometimes say, "Something felt wrong," even when they could not explain why at the time. The subconscious notices tiny signals constantly: tone changes, facial expressions, tension in environments, emotional memories, unpredictable behavior, and immediately prepares the body for protection. Fear begins as a physical reaction before it becomes a clear thought. Psychologists and neuroscientists believe the body acts almost like an emotional storage system. Unprocessed fear does not simply disappear after stressful experiences. Instead, the subconscious can continue holding traces of that fear physically for months or even years. This is why certain situations trigger sudden anxiety, shaking, exhaustion, or tightness without obvious reason. Your conscious mind may believe the danger is over, but your subconscious body may still be reacting as if the threat remains active. People who experienced criticism, instability, bullying, emotional neglect, or traumatic stress often carry hidden physical patterns created by subconscious fear. Even normal conversations can trigger defensive body responses because the nervous system remembers emotional danger faster than the conscious mind remembers the actual event. This hidden process explains why fear sometimes feels impossible to control logically. You can tell yourself you are safe while your body still reacts with panic. In many cases, the subconscious has already locked fear into the nervous system long before the conscious mind even finds words for what it is afraid of. Your subconscious notices tiny facial changes you miss. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is its power to detect microscopic facial changes that your conscious awareness completely overlooks. Every second, the human face reveals tiny emotional signals: brief eye movements, muscle tension, lip compression, eyebrow shifts, forced smiles, and flashes of emotion that may last less than a second. Most people never consciously notice these details, yet your subconscious quietly absorbs them all. This is why you can suddenly feel uncomfortable around someone even when they appear polite on the surface. Your conscious mind may hear friendly words, but your subconscious may have already detected signs of hidden anger, fear, dishonesty, jealousy, or emotional discomfort buried inside their facial expressions. The feeling arrives first, while logic struggles afterward, trying to explain why something feels off. Psychologists often refer to these brief emotional leaks as micro-expressions. They occur when genuine emotions briefly escape before a person fully controls their face again. Even highly controlled individuals reveal tiny subconscious reactions for fractions of a second. Your subconscious is remarkably skilled at recognizing these emotional inconsistencies because human survival once depended on reading hidden intentions quickly. Long before modern language evolved, humans relied heavily on facial signals to detect danger, deception, and emotional shifts inside social groups. Because of this, your subconscious still treats faces like emotional maps filled with survival information. This hidden ability explains why fake smiles sometimes feel unsettling even when you cannot explain why. It explains why certain people instantly seem trustworthy while others quietly trigger caution. Your subconscious is constantly analyzing emotional authenticity beneath appearances. In many situations, your conscious mind believes what people say, but your subconscious pays closer attention to what their face accidentally reveals for a split second before control returns. Your subconscious makes certain strangers instantly feel safe or dangerous. One of the most mysterious abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it decides whether a stranger feels safe or threatening. before any real interaction even happens. Within seconds of seeing someone, your subconscious begins analyzing facial expressions, posture, eye movement, tone, body tension, walking patterns, and countless tiny details your conscious mind barely notices. Before logic forms an opinion, your nervous system has already started reacting. This explains why some people create immediate comfort the moment they enter a room, while others trigger uneasiness without saying a single word. Sometimes there is no obvious reason. A stranger may appear completely normal on the surface, yet something deep inside tells you to stay alert. In other cases, someone you barely know instantly feels trustworthy, calm, or emotionally familiar. Scientists believe this rapid judgment system developed as a survival mechanism. Early humans needed to detect threats quickly in order to stay alive. Because of this, the subconscious constantly compares new faces and behaviors against stored emotional memories from the past. A stranger who subconsciously resembles someone associated with safety may feel comforting. Someone who reminds your brain of past fear, aggression, manipulation, or unpredictability may instantly trigger caution. What makes this unsettling is that these reactions often happen outside conscious awareness. Your breathing may change slightly, your muscles tighten, your body becomes more alert before you consciously identify why. Sometimes your subconscious notices subtle emotional signals hidden beneath someone's appearance: forced smiles, unnatural eye contact, suppressed anger, nervous energy, or emotional emptiness. This hidden system influences relationships, trust, attraction, and fear every day. In many situations, your subconscious has already decided how you feel about someone long before your conscious mind begins building logical explanations. The emotional verdict often arrives first, while reason quietly follows behind, trying to justify what your instincts already sensed. Your subconscious links random sounds to forgotten memories. One of the eeriest abilities of the subconscious mind is how it secretly attaches emotions and memories to ordinary sounds without your awareness. A random noise can suddenly trigger feelings you cannot explain, pulling emotions from deep inside your past before your conscious mind even understands what is happening. Sometimes the sound itself seems harmless, yet your body reacts as if it remembers something important hidden beneath the surface. A certain ringtone, the creaking of a floor, distant laughter, thunder, a door closing, dishes clattering, or even footsteps in a hallway can awaken emotional states connected to forgotten experiences. You may suddenly feel anxious, comforted, lonely, nostalgic, or emotionally heavy without knowing why. Often the conscious memory attached to the sound is blurry or completely gone, but your subconscious still remembers the emotional imprint connected to it. This happens because the brain constantly records sensory information during emotional experiences, especially during moments involving fear, love, stress, embarrassment, or safety. Over time, sounds become linked to emotional memories inside the subconscious mind. Later in life, hearing those same sounds again can quietly reactivate the emotional state connected to the original moment. Scientists believe this process is deeply connected to associative memory, where the brain stores emotional experiences together with sensory details from the environment. Your subconscious does not only remember events, it remembers the atmosphere surrounding them. A sound heard repeatedly during emotional moments becomes psychologically charged long after the actual experience fades away. This is why certain songs instantly transport people back into old relationships, childhood homes, or painful memories they rarely think about consciously. The subconscious stores emotional echoes inside ordinary sounds, waiting silently beneath awareness. Sometimes a single noise can reopen emotions buried for years, reminding you that your mind remembers far more than you consciously realize. Your subconscious notices tension in voices before words register. One of the strangest abilities of the subconscious mind is that it can detect emotional tension in someone's voice before your conscious mind fully processes the actual words being spoken. Long before you logically understand a conversation, your subconscious is already analyzing tone, rhythm, pitch, hesitation, breathing patterns, and emotional energy hidden beneath language. In many situations, your body reacts to the emotion behind the voice before your mind reacts to the meaning of the sentence itself. This is why certain conversations instantly make you uneasy, even when nothing openly negative has been said. A slight pause, forced calmness, subtle irritation, hidden fear, or emotional coldness inside a person's voice can quietly trigger your nervous system without you consciously identifying what caused the discomfort. Your subconscious constantly scans voices for signs of danger, dishonesty, aggression, sadness, or rejection because human survival depended on reading emotional intent quickly. Scientists believe humans evolved to detect emotional shifts in sound long before complex language fully developed. Early humans who sensed anger, fear, or hostility in another person's voice early enough were more likely to survive dangerous situations. Because of this, your subconscious still treats vocal tension as important survival information. This hidden system explains why arguments often feel emotionally intense before insults even begin. It explains why a parent's disappointed tone can hurt more than their actual words. Sometimes people say, "I'm fine," while their voice quietly reveals exhaustion, resentment, or emotional pain that the subconscious immediately recognizes. Manipulators, liars, and emotionally unstable people often struggle to completely hide tension in their voices because the subconscious emotional state leaks through sound automatically. Even when words appear calm, the nervous system of the listener may already sense something is wrong. In many conversations, your subconscious hears the truth before your conscious mind understands it. Your subconscious remembers embarrassment longer than praise. One of the cruelest habits of the subconscious mind is its tendency to hold on to embarrassment far more intensely than praise. Compliments often fade within hours, but humiliation can remain alive inside the mind for years. A single awkward moment, rejection, mistake, or public failure can replay repeatedly in your thoughts long after everyone else has forgotten it ever happened. Your subconscious treats emotional pain like something important that must never be ignored again. This happens because the human brain is naturally designed to prioritize negative experiences over positive ones. From an evolutionary perspective, remembering painful social mistakes increased survival. Early humans depended heavily on group acceptance, and embarrassment often signaled social danger. Being rejected, mocked, or excluded from the tribe could threaten safety itself. Because of this, your subconscious stores humiliating experiences with unusual emotional intensity. That is why tiny embarrassing moments from childhood can still trigger discomfort years later. A failed presentation, being laughed at in school, saying the wrong thing in public, or experiencing rejection during vulnerable moments may remain emotionally active deep beneath awareness. Even when logic knows the moment no longer matters, your subconscious continues treating it like unfinished emotional danger. This hidden process quietly shapes behavior in adulthood. Fear of embarrassment causes many people to avoid opportunities, stay silent during conversations, hesitate around new people, or suppress parts of themselves to avoid repeating old emotional pain. In many cases, the subconscious is not protecting you from real danger. It is protecting you from emotional memories it never fully released. Meanwhile, Praise rarely receives the same emotional weight. Positive moments feel good temporarily, but embarrassment leaves scars because your subconscious believes painful memories are more necessary for survival than comforting ones. Your subconscious pushes you toward familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. One of the most disturbing truths about the human mind is that the subconscious often prefers familiar suffering over unfamiliar peace. Even when a painful situation is clearly unhealthy, your subconscious may still feel emotionally attached to it simply because it recognizes the pattern. Human beings are deeply conditioned by repetition, and the subconscious interprets familiarity as safety, even when that familiarity involves stress, rejection, chaos, or emotional pain. This is why some people repeatedly return to toxic relationships, destructive habits, or emotionally exhausting environments they consciously know are harming them. The subconscious becomes emotionally trained to expect certain behaviors, emotional highs and lows, or feelings of instability. Over time, chaos stops feeling abnormal. It begins feeling emotionally predictable, and predictability creates a strange sense of comfort inside the nervous system. Psychologists often connect this to childhood conditioning and emotional imprinting. If someone grows up surrounded by criticism, emotional inconsistency, tension, or neglect, the subconscious may begin associating those emotional patterns with what love, connection, or normal life is supposed to feel like. Later in adulthood, calm and healthy situations can strangely feel uncomfortable because the subconscious does not recognize them as emotionally familiar. This creates a hidden internal conflict. Consciously, a person may desire peace, stability, and healthy relationships, but subconsciously, the nervous system keeps pulling them back toward emotional patterns it already understands. Peace can even feel boring or suspicious because the subconscious is waiting for danger that never arrives. What makes this especially unsettling is how invisible the process can become. People often believe they are making fully rational choices, while deep beneath awareness, old emotional conditioning quietly influences attraction, attachment, and behavior. In many cases, the subconscious would rather repeat familiar pain than risk stepping into an emotional reality it does not yet know how to trust. Your subconscious changes your breathing around intimidating people. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it alters your body in the presence of someone it perceives as powerful, dominant, or threatening, before your conscious mind fully understands what you are feeling. Your breathing pattern often changes automatically. Around intimidating people, the subconscious quietly shifts the nervous system into a heightened state of alertness, preparing the body for emotional danger, even when no physical threat exists. This reaction can happen within seconds. Your breathing may become shallow, faster, tighter, or uneven without you noticing at first. Sometimes you unconsciously hold your breath during conversations with certain people, especially those who trigger feelings of judgment, pressure, authority, rejection, or insecurity. Your body reacts as if it must stay careful around them, even when they are doing nothing openly harmful. This happens because the subconscious mind constantly scans social environments for status, emotional risk, and possible humiliation. Humans evolved in social groups where rejection or conflict with dominant individuals could threaten survival. Because of this ancient wiring, your nervous system still responds strongly to intimidation today. A harsh tone, strong eye contact, confident posture, or emotional coldness can silently activate stress responses beneath awareness. The terrifying part is that most people never realize their body is reacting this way. They only notice vague anxiety, mental fog, or emotional discomfort during certain interactions. Meanwhile, the subconscious has already tightened muscles, increased alertness, and adjusted breathing patterns automatically. This is why some people leave conversations feeling emotionally drained without understanding why. Their subconscious spent the entire interaction operating in survival mode. Even in modern social situations, your body often reacts to psychological pressure the same way ancient humans reacted to physical danger, proving how deeply fear still controls the subconscious mind beneath everyday human behavior. Your subconscious makes silence feel uncomfortable during insecurity. One of the most unsettling things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it turns silence into emotional discomfort when insecurity is present. Silence itself is not dangerous, yet the subconscious often interprets it as uncertainty, judgment, rejection, or emotional threat. The moment conversation stops, the mind begins searching for hidden meaning, and insecurity quietly fills the empty space with fear. This is why silence can feel painfully heavy during certain interactions. A delayed text reply, a pause during conversation, or someone sitting quietly beside you can suddenly create anxiety that feels far larger than the moment itself. Your subconscious immediately begins asking invisible questions. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset? Are they losing interest? Do they secretly dislike me? Even without evidence, insecurity pushes the brain to assume the worst. Psychologists believe this happens because the human mind is naturally uncomfortable with uncertainty. The subconscious prefers emotional clarity because unpredictability historically carried survival risk. In ancient social groups, rejection or exclusion could threaten safety, belonging, and survival itself. Because of this, silence often becomes emotionally loaded inside the nervous system. People with deeper insecurities usually experience this even more intensely. Their subconscious constantly scans for signs of abandonment, criticism, or emotional distance. When silence appears, the mind rushes to fill it with imagined explanations, many of them negative. The body reacts physically as well. Heart rate changes, tension increases, thoughts spiral, and emotional discomfort grows despite nothing openly happening. Manipulators sometimes use silence intentionally because they understand its psychological power. Strategic pauses, emotional withdrawal, and delayed responses can create anxiety by forcing the other person's subconscious to search desperately for reassurance. What makes this especially creepy is that silence often reveals more about your hidden fears than the other person's actual intentions. In many cases, the discomfort does not come from the silence itself. It comes from what your subconscious secretly fears the silence might mean. Your subconscious judges people within seconds of seeing them. One of the most unsettling truths about the human mind is how quickly your subconscious forms opinions about people before logic has a chance to participate. Within seconds of seeing someone, your brain begins analyzing facial structure, posture, eye contact, clothing, voice, movement, emotional energy, and countless tiny details beyond conscious awareness. Long before a conversation truly begins, your subconscious has already started deciding whether the person feels safe, threatening, trustworthy, attractive, weak, dominant, familiar, or dangerous. This process happens automatically and silently. You may believe you are making rational judgments about others, but much of your first impression is actually built from subconscious emotional shortcuts formed through past experiences, social conditioning, fears, and survival instincts. Sometimes a person reminds your subconscious of someone who once hurt you, comforted you, intimidated you, or betrayed you. The emotional reaction appears instantly, even when the new person has done nothing to deserve it. Psychologists believe humans evolved this rapid judgment system for survival. Early humans needed to quickly detect threats, social allies, and group dynamics in uncertain environments. Waiting too long to judge someone could become dangerous. Because of this, your subconscious still prioritizes immediate emotional assessment over slow, logical analysis. This hidden mechanism explains why first impressions often feel powerful and difficult to reverse. Once the subconscious labels someone positively or negatively, the conscious mind often searches for evidence to support that emotional decision afterward. Manipulators understand this deeply. They carefully control appearance, posture, facial expressions, and tone because they know people form emotional conclusions almost instantly. In many situations, your subconscious decides how you feel about someone before they even finish introducing themselves, while your conscious mind simply creates reasons to justify the feeling later. Your subconscious scans rooms for threats automatically. One of the creepiest things about the subconscious mind is that it never truly relaxes. Even in ordinary situations, your subconscious is constantly scanning every environment for possible danger without asking for permission. The moment you enter a room, your brain immediately begins analyzing exits, facial expressions, tone of voices, body language, movements, tension levels, and social dynamics before your conscious mind even settles into the space. Most people never notice this process happening because it operates silently beneath awareness, yet your subconscious is always searching for signs of conflict, aggression, rejection, unpredictability, or emotional threat. This ancient survival mechanism developed long before modern society existed. Early humans who quickly detected danger were more likely to survive, and that same protective wiring still operates inside the modern brain today. This hidden system explains why some rooms instantly feel uncomfortable even when nothing obvious seems wrong. Sometimes tension exists beneath the surface. Forced smiles, hidden hostility, emotional instability, or dominant personalities silently affecting the atmosphere. Your subconscious notices these signals immediately. Your breathing changes slightly, your posture shifts, and your nervous system becomes more alert before you consciously realize anything feels off. People who grew up in stressful or unpredictable environments often experience this even more intensely. Their subconscious becomes hyper-aware of emotional shifts because it learned early that noticing danger quickly was necessary for emotional survival. They may unconsciously monitor everyone's mood, tone, or reactions at all times without realizing how exhausting the process has become. What makes this unsettling is that the subconscious rarely turns this system off completely. Even during conversations, laughter, or peaceful moments, part of the mind remains quietly alert in the background. While your conscious mind focuses on the present, your subconscious continues performing invisible surveillance, constantly asking one ancient question: am I safe here? Your subconscious notices fake smiles faster than genuine ones. One of the creepiest abilities hidden inside the subconscious mind is its power to detect emotional dishonesty almost instantly. Long before your conscious mind fully analyzes a person's behavior, your subconscious quietly studies facial expressions, eye movements, muscle tension, tone, and timing to determine whether a smile is real or forced. Even when someone appears friendly on the surface, your subconscious can often sense emotional emptiness hiding underneath the expression. This happens because genuine smiles activate different facial muscles than fake ones. Real emotion naturally reaches the eyes, softens facial tension, and creates subtle movements that are extremely difficult to imitate perfectly. Forced smiles, on the other hand, often appear slightly delayed, overly controlled, emotionally disconnected, or mechanically symmetrical. Your conscious mind may overlook these tiny details, but your subconscious notices them immediately. Scientists believe humans evolved this ability because accurately reading emotional intent was essential for survival. Detecting deception, hidden aggression, or false friendliness helped early humans avoid danger and choose trustworthy social alliances. Because of this, the subconscious remains highly sensitive to emotional inconsistency even today. This explains why some people instantly make you feel uncomfortable despite acting polite. A fake smile can trigger subtle tension inside your nervous system because your subconscious detects a mismatch between outward expression and genuine emotional energy. Sometimes you cannot explain why someone feels off, yet your body quietly reacts anyway. Manipulative individuals often rely heavily on artificial warmth, rehearsed friendliness, and controlled charm to influence others. But despite how convincing they appear consciously, the subconscious mind frequently senses the emotional disconnect beneath the performance. This is why certain smiles feel comforting while others feel strangely cold. Beneath conscious awareness, your subconscious constantly searches for emotional authenticity, silently warning you when someone's expression hides more than it reveals. Your subconscious makes you crave approval from emotionally distant people. One of the darkest patterns hidden inside the subconscious mind is its tendency to chase approval from people who give the least emotional warmth. Instead of naturally moving toward healthy affection and reassurance, the subconscious often becomes obsessed with emotionally distant individuals because uncertainty creates stronger psychological fixation than comfort does. The less validation someone gives, the more valuable their approval can begin to feel. This pattern usually forms much earlier in life than most people realize. If love, attention, or emotional safety once felt inconsistent during childhood, the subconscious may learn to associate emotional distance with importance. As a result, emotionally unavailable people begin triggering powerful subconscious desires for validation later in life. Their coldness creates emotional tension, and the mind becomes trapped, trying to earn warmth that is rarely given freely. Psychologists often compare this to reward systems inside the brain. Unpredictable rewards create stronger emotional attachment than constant rewards. When approval comes occasionally instead of consistently, the subconscious treats every small sign of affection as emotionally significant. A single compliment, message, smile, or moment of attention suddenly feels intensely rewarding because the emotional system has been deprived for so long. This explains why some people ignore those who genuinely care about them while becoming emotionally consumed by those who barely acknowledge them. The subconscious confuses emotional struggle with emotional value. Healthy affection can feel unfamiliar or even boring, while emotional distance creates obsession, anxiety, and constant overthinking. Manipulative people often exploit this dynamic intentionally. By alternating between warmth and withdrawal, they create emotional dependency inside the other person's subconscious. The uncertainty strengthens attachment because the mind becomes desperate for emotional reassurance. What makes this especially disturbing is that many people mistake this emotional craving for love itself. In reality, the subconscious is often chasing unresolved validation wounds from the past, desperately trying to earn approval from people who emotionally resemble earlier experiences of distance, inconsistency, or rejection. Your subconscious hides painful memories behind normal routines. One of the creepiest defense mechanisms of the subconscious mind is its ability to bury painful memories beneath ordinary daily behavior. Instead of allowing certain emotional wounds to remain fully visible, your subconscious often hides them inside habits, routines, distractions, personality traits, or repetitive behaviors that appear completely normal on the surface. Many people go through life believing they have moved on, while their subconscious quietly organizes parts of their life around avoiding emotions they never truly processed. This hidden protection system exists because the mind is designed to shield itself from overwhelming emotional pain. Some memories carry so much fear, shame, rejection, grief, or humiliation that consciously reliving them feels threatening. Rather than forcing you to face the pain constantly, the subconscious pushes those emotions deeper beneath awareness while building routines that help keep them hidden. This explains why certain people stay constantly busy and feel uncomfortable in silence. It explains why some people compulsively check their phones, overwork themselves, seek constant entertainment, or avoid deep emotional conversations. Sometimes these routines are not random habits at all. They are emotional escape mechanisms designed to prevent buried memories from resurfacing. Even seemingly harmless behaviors can become subconscious shields. A person who jokes constantly may be hiding unresolved pain. Someone obsessed with control may be protecting themselves from old chaos or betrayal. A person who avoids relationships entirely may still carry emotional wounds from past rejection without consciously realizing it. The subconscious does not erase painful experiences completely. It stores them quietly beneath behavior patterns, emotional triggers, and nervous system reactions. Certain smells, conversations, locations, or situations can suddenly reactivate emotions connected to memories you rarely think about consciously. In many cases, your routines are not only shaping your life, they are also protecting emotional wounds your subconscious refuses to fully reopen. Your subconscious fills in missing details with assumptions. One of the most dangerous abilities of the subconscious mind is its habit of creating assumptions whenever information is incomplete. The human brain hates uncertainty. When details are missing, your subconscious immediately begins filling the gaps using past experiences, emotional memories, fears, expectations, and personal biases. Most of the time, this process happens so quickly that you mistake the assumption for reality itself. This is why silence can suddenly feel hostile, even when no harm was intended. A delayed text message becomes evidence of rejection. A neutral facial expression feels cold or judgmental. Someone acting differently for a single day can trigger endless emotional theories inside your mind. Instead of waiting for complete information, your subconscious rushes to create explanations because uncertainty feels emotionally uncomfortable. Psychologists believe the brain developed this pattern-making behavior as a survival mechanism. Early humans needed to make fast predictions in uncertain situations to stay alive. Assuming danger quickly was safer than waiting too long for certainty. Even today, your subconscious still prioritizes emotional prediction over perfect accuracy. The unsettling part is that these assumptions are often shaped more by emotional wounds than by objective reality. Someone who has experienced betrayal may subconsciously assume dishonesty. Someone who fears abandonment may interpret distance as rejection. Your subconscious quietly projects old emotional experiences onto present situations, convincing you that imagined conclusions are facts. This hidden process influences relationships, arguments, anxiety, and self-esteem every day. Entire conflicts can begin over assumptions that were never true. Friendships weaken because of imagined intentions. Fear grows around situations that were misunderstood from the start. In many cases, people are not reacting to reality itself. They are reacting to emotional stories their subconscious created in order to make uncertainty feel predictable. The mind would often rather invent an answer than sit peacefully inside the discomfort of not knowing. Your subconscious notices when someone loses interest before they admit it. One of the most painful abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects emotional withdrawal long before words are spoken. Even when someone still says, "I'm fine," or pretends nothing has changed, your subconscious quietly notices the tiny differences in behavior that reveal fading interest, emotional distance, or shifting feelings. Most people believe they are reacting to obvious rejection, but in reality, the subconscious often senses it far earlier than conscious awareness wants to accept. This hidden detection system constantly studies subtle changes in tone, eye contact, facial expressions, response speed, energy, posture, and emotional engagement. A person who once leaned into conversations may now seem emotionally distracted. Their laughter becomes shorter. Their attention drifts more often. Their warmth feels weaker. Your conscious mind may try to rationalize these changes, but your subconscious quietly recognizes the pattern forming underneath. This is why people sometimes feel anxious around someone they care about before anything openly negative happens. The subconscious notices emotional shifts through hundreds of tiny behavioral signals too small for conscious analysis. Your body reacts first. You may feel tension, emotional heaviness, insecurity, or sadness without fully understanding why. Psychologists believe humans evolved this sensitivity because social connection was deeply tied to survival. Detecting emotional rejection early allowed people to prepare for social loss before it became fully visible. Because of this ancient wiring, the subconscious remains extremely alert to signs of fading attachment. The terrifying part is that your subconscious often knows the truth before your conscious mind is emotionally ready to face it. Many people stay mentally hopeful while their subconscious quietly senses the relationship changing beneath the surface. Long before someone admits they are pulling away, your subconscious has already begun mourning the emotional distance growing between you. Your subconscious changes your voice around authority figures. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it alters your voice when you are around someone perceived as powerful, dominant, or socially important. Most people believe they fully control the way they speak, yet the subconscious constantly adjusts tone, pitch, speed, volume, and confidence levels based on hidden emotional reactions happening beneath awareness. The voice becomes a reflection of subconscious survival instincts long before conscious control steps in. This is why many people suddenly sound different when speaking to bosses, teachers, wealthy individuals, police officers, celebrities, or anyone they subconsciously view as having authority. The voice may become softer, faster, quieter, more formal, overly polite, or slightly shaky without intentional effort. In some cases, people even laugh more nervously or struggle to speak clearly because the subconscious interprets the situation as socially high risk. Psychologists believe this behavior is deeply connected to ancient social hierarchies that shaped human survival. In early human groups, powerful individuals controlled resources, protection, acceptance, and punishment. Because of this, the subconscious evolved to become extremely sensitive around dominant figures. Adjusting vocal behavior became a way to avoid conflict, gain approval, and reduce social danger. What makes this especially creepy is how automatic the process feels. You may believe you are calm, while your voice quietly exposes hidden anxiety or insecurity anyway. Other people often notice these changes subconsciously too. Confidence, fear, uncertainty, and submission can all leak through vocal patterns before words even register emotionally. Authority figures themselves sometimes exploit this instinct knowingly or unknowingly. A controlled tone, slower speech, or intimidating presence can subconsciously pressure others into compliance because the nervous system reacts before logic fully engages. This hidden system reveals something uncomfortable about human psychology. Even in modern society, the subconscious still responds to perceived power as though survival depends on it, silently reshaping the human voice in ways most people never consciously notice. Your subconscious remembers childhood fears inside adult situations. One of the most disturbing things about the subconscious mind is that it never fully forgets the emotional fears created during childhood. Even after growing older, becoming stronger, and gaining life experience, your subconscious often continues reacting to adult situations using emotional patterns formed many years earlier. deep inside the mind, certain fears remain frozen in the emotional state in which they were first created. This happens because childhood is the period when the subconscious absorbs emotional information most intensely. During those early years, the brain is still developing its understanding of safety, love, rejection, danger, approval, and belonging. Experiences that seem small to adults can leave deep emotional imprints inside a child's subconscious. Harsh criticism, emotional neglect, humiliation, abandonment, conflict at home, or constant pressure can silently shape emotional reactions that continue far into adulthood. That is why adult situations sometimes trigger emotional responses that feel irrationally intense. A disagreement with a partner may suddenly create overwhelming fear of abandonment. Criticism at work may feel emotionally devastating far beyond the actual situation. Being ignored in a conversation may quietly awaken childhood feelings of invisibility or rejection. In many moments, your subconscious is not only reacting to the present situation, it is reacting to old emotional memories connected to it. The frightening part is that most people never realize this is happening. They believe they are responding logically to current events, while their subconscious is replaying emotional survival patterns learned decades earlier. Psychologists often describe this as emotional conditioning. The nervous system remembers emotional danger long after conscious memory fades. Certain tones of voice, facial expressions, environments, or forms of rejection can unconsciously reactivate childhood fears buried deep beneath awareness. In many cases, the adult mind moves forward, but the subconscious continues protecting wounds created long ago. Your subconscious reacts to criticism like physical danger. One of the most unsettling things about the human mind is that your subconscious often responds to criticism as though you are under real physical threat. Even simple disapproval, judgment, or negative feedback can trigger reactions inside the body that resemble fear, panic, or danger. Your heart rate changes, muscles tighten, breathing shifts, and stress hormones begin flooding your system before your conscious mind fully processes the situation. This happens because the subconscious does not clearly separate social pain from survival threats. For ancient humans, acceptance within the group was essential for survival. Rejection, humiliation, or loss of status could lead to isolation and vulnerability. Because of this, the brain evolved to treat social criticism very seriously. Even in modern life, your subconscious still reacts to emotional judgment as though your safety or survival may be at risk. This explains why criticism can feel disproportionately painful even when it is small or constructive. A single negative comment can replay in your mind for hours, while compliments disappear quickly. Sometimes criticism activates old emotional wounds connected to shame, failure, embarrassment, or rejection stored deep inside the subconscious. The present moment becomes emotionally linked to painful experiences from the past, making the reaction feel much stronger than logic alone would justify. What makes this even darker is how automatically the body responds. Before you consciously decide how to react, your subconscious may already trigger defensiveness, anger, withdrawal, anxiety, or self-doubt. Some people instantly shut down emotionally. Others become aggressive or over-explain themselves in order to regain psychological safety. Manipulators understand this weakness very well. Criticism, humiliation, and emotional pressure are often used to control behavior because the subconscious naturally seeks relief from social pain. In many situations, people are not just protecting their opinions during criticism. Deep beneath awareness, their subconscious is protecting their sense of emotional survival itself. Your subconscious notices emotional shifts before conversations change. One of the eeriest abilities of the subconscious mind is how it can sense emotional changes in people before a single word in the conversation actually changes. Long before someone openly becomes cold, angry, distant, nervous, or dishonest, your subconscious quietly detects subtle shifts in their emotional state through signals your conscious mind barely notices. The atmosphere changes first, the words come later. This hidden process happens constantly during human interaction. Tiny changes in breathing, facial tension, eye movement, posture, vocal rhythm, pauses, and energy levels are unconsciously scanned by the brain every second. A person may still be smiling and speaking normally, yet your subconscious notices something underneath no longer feels the same. You suddenly feel tension, discomfort, emotional heaviness, or unease without fully understanding why. This is why some conversations begin feeling strange before anything negative is said. Your subconscious detects emotional withdrawal, hidden anger, jealousy, fear, attraction, or dishonesty before conscious logic catches up. Sometimes you can physically feel a room become emotionally different, even though nothing visible has happened yet. Your nervous system reacts to emotional energy faster than your conscious awareness can explain it. Scientists believe this sensitivity developed because survival depended heavily on reading social behavior quickly and accurately. Early humans who sensed emotional danger early were more likely to avoid betrayal, violence, or rejection. Because of this, the subconscious became highly skilled at detecting emotional inconsistencies beneath outward behavior. The disturbing part is that most people ignore these internal warnings because they cannot logically explain them. They continue conversations while their subconscious quietly recognizes the emotional reality underneath the surface. In many situations, your subconscious already knows someone's feelings have shifted long before their words finally reveal the truth hidden beneath their behavior. Your subconscious turns uncertainty into anxiety. One of the creepiest survival mechanisms inside the human mind is the way the subconscious reacts to uncertainty as if it were danger. The subconscious hates not knowing what comes next. When situations become unclear, unpredictable, or emotionally uncertain, the brain immediately begins preparing for possible threats even before anything bad has actually happened. Anxiety is often the emotional result of the subconscious trying to protect you from outcomes that do not yet exist. This hidden process explains why uncertainty can feel mentally exhausting even when nothing dangerous is happening in reality. Waiting for a reply, not knowing someone's intentions, fearing possible failure, entering unfamiliar situations, or lacking control over the future can quietly activate the nervous system. The subconscious begins imagining negative possibilities because predicting danger historically increased human survival. Psychologists believe the brain evolved to treat uncertainty cautiously because ancient humans who underestimated unpredictable situations faced greater risks. As a result, the subconscious still prefers painful certainty over unknown outcomes. Even bad news can feel emotionally easier than uncertainty because at least the mind finally knows what it is dealing with. This is why anxiety often grows strongest in situations where there are too many unanswered questions. The subconscious fills empty spaces with imagined threats, worst-case scenarios, and emotional fear. A delayed message becomes rejection. Silence becomes conflict. Small symptoms become catastrophic illness. The mind desperately searches for certainty because uncertainty itself feels psychologically unsafe. What makes this especially disturbing is how physical the reaction becomes. Heart rate increases, sleep becomes difficult, focus weakens, and the body behaves as though danger is already present. In many cases, anxiety is not responding to reality at all. It is responding to imagined possibilities created by the subconscious, attempting to predict and control the unknown. Even when logic understands there may be no real threat, the subconscious continues preparing for danger anyway, because uncertainty activates one of the oldest survival systems buried deep inside the human mind. Your subconscious makes familiar chaos feel normal. One of the darkest tricks of the subconscious mind is its ability to transform repeated chaos into something that feels emotionally normal. When a person spends enough time around stress, instability, conflict, manipulation, or emotional unpredictability, the subconscious slowly adapts to that environment until chaos no longer feels strange. Instead, it begins to feel familiar, expected, and even strangely comfortable. This happens because the subconscious prioritizes familiarity over peace. The human brain is constantly searching for patterns it recognizes, and once certain emotional environments become repeated enough, the subconscious starts treating them as normal, even when they are unhealthy. A person raised around constant arguments may unconsciously feel uneasy in calm relationships. Someone who grew up around emotional instability may mistake drama for passion or emotional intensity for love. Over time, peace can begin to feel unfamiliar, boring, or suspicious because the subconscious has been conditioned to expect emotional turbulence. Silence feels uncomfortable, stability feels unnatural. Healthy people may even seem emotionally distant simply because they do not trigger the same emotional highs and lows the subconscious learned to associate with connection. Psychologists often refer to this as emotional conditioning. The nervous system adapts to repeated emotional environments the same way the body adapts to repeated physical environments. Eventually, the subconscious stops recognizing chaos as danger because it has become predictable. This hidden mechanism explains why many people repeatedly return to toxic friendships, destructive relationships, stressful workplaces, or emotionally exhausting situations, even when they consciously know those environments are harming them. Their subconscious is not chasing happiness. It is chasing familiarity. The frightening part is that people often mistake this familiarity for instinct or chemistry. In reality, the subconscious may simply be pulling them back toward emotional patterns it recognizes, even if those patterns continue creating pain, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Your subconscious notices patterns where none exist. One of the creepiest tendencies of the subconscious mind is its obsession with finding patterns, even in situations where no real pattern actually exists. The human brain is constantly searching for meaning, connections, predictions, and hidden order because uncertainty feels uncomfortable and emotionally unsafe. As a result, your subconscious often creates relationships between unrelated events simply to make the world feel more understandable and controllable. This is why people begin seeing signs, coincidences, and hidden meanings everywhere after emotionally intense experiences. A repeated number suddenly feels important. A random song seems connected to a specific event. Small coincidences start appearing too meaningful to ignore. Your subconscious desperately tries to organize scattered experiences into emotional narratives because the brain naturally craves certainty and explanation. Psychologists believe this pattern detection system evolved as a survival advantage. Early humans who quickly recognized patterns in weather, animal behavior, danger signals, or environmental changes were more likely to survive. The problem is that the subconscious often prefers false patterns over complete uncertainty. It would rather assume there is meaning than accept randomness. This hidden process becomes even stronger during fear, stress, loneliness, or emotional instability. When the mind feels anxious or vulnerable, the subconscious increases its search for connections and predictions in order to regain a sense of control. Unfortunately, this can distort perception. Neutral events begin feeling personal. Random outcomes feel intentional. Imagined connections start feeling emotionally real. This explains why conspiracy theories, superstitions, and irrational fears can become so psychologically convincing. Once the subconscious emotionally accepts a pattern, the mind begins selectively noticing information that supports it while ignoring evidence against it. In many cases, people are not seeing reality exactly as it is. They are seeing emotional patterns their subconscious created to protect them from the terrifying discomfort of uncertainty, randomness, and lack of control in an unpredictable world. Your subconscious connects songs to emotional states instantly. One of the strangest powers of the subconscious mind is how quickly it attaches emotions to music. A single song can instantly pull you into a completely different emotional state before you consciously realize what is happening. Within seconds, your breathing changes, your mood shifts, old memories return, and emotions you thought were buried suddenly feel alive again. The terrifying part is that your subconscious often reacts before your conscious mind even recognizes the song. Music becomes deeply connected to emotional experiences because the subconscious records not only events, but also the emotional atmosphere surrounding them. If a certain song played repeatedly during heartbreak, loneliness, love, fear, happiness, or emotional pain, your brain stores the music together with the emotional state attached to that period of your life. Years later, hearing that same song can instantly reactivate those exact emotions with disturbing intensity. This is why some songs feel emotionally haunted. A melody tied to a painful memory can create sadness before you consciously remember where you first heard it. Sometimes a song can make you miss someone you no longer speak to, reopen emotions from years ago, or suddenly transport you back into a specific moment with vivid emotional detail. Your subconscious treats music like an emotional trigger connected directly to memory. Scientists believe music affects the brain so powerfully because it activates emotional and memory processing systems simultaneously. Rhythm, melody, and repetition bypass certain logical filters, allowing emotional reactions to happen automatically beneath awareness. This hidden mechanism quietly shapes daily life more than most people realize. Certain songs can calm anxiety, intensify sadness, increase confidence, or awaken nostalgia within seconds. In many cases, people are not reacting to the music itself. They are reacting to emotional versions of themselves that their subconscious secretly attached to those songs long ago. Your subconscious makes you relive old conversations at night. One of the most disturbing habits of the subconscious mind is its tendency to replay old conversations the moment the world becomes quiet. During the day, distractions keep the conscious mind occupied, but at night, when stimulation fades and silence grows heavier, the subconscious begins pulling unfinished emotional moments back to the surface. Conversations you thought were forgotten suddenly return with painful clarity, often carrying embarrassment, regret, anger, guilt, or anxiety along with them. This happens because the subconscious constantly searches for emotional resolution. Moments involving conflict, rejection, awkwardness, humiliation, or uncertainty are often stored more deeply than ordinary experiences because the brain treats emotionally charged interactions as important survival information. At night, when external distractions disappear, the subconscious quietly reopens those emotional files. That is why people suddenly remember something embarrassing they said years ago while lying in bed. A simple conversation can replay repeatedly with new imagined responses, better comebacks, or fears about how others secretly perceive them. Sometimes the memory feels so vivid that the body reacts physically all over again. Heart rate changes, muscles tighten, and emotional discomfort returns as though the moment is happening in real time. Psychologists believe this replay system partly exists because the brain uses rest periods to process unresolved social experiences. Human survival depended heavily on social acceptance, so the subconscious became extremely sensitive to interactions involving judgment, exclusion, or emotional threat. the mind keeps reviewing conversations in an attempt to prevent future social mistakes. What makes this especially creepy is that the subconscious often focuses far more on negative moments than positive ones. Compliments fade quickly, but awkward interactions can remain emotionally active for years. Even when other people have long forgotten the conversation, your subconscious may continue replaying it late at night, searching endlessly for control over something that can no longer be changed. Your subconscious protects your ego before protecting truth. One of the most unsettling behaviors of the subconscious mind is how quickly it defends your ego before it allows you to face uncomfortable truth. Human beings like to believe they see reality objectively, but in many situations, the subconscious quietly bends perception in order to protect emotional identity, pride, and self-image. Long before logic fully examines the facts, the subconscious is already working to reduce emotional pain, avoid shame, and preserve the version of yourself you want to believe in. This happens because the ego is deeply tied to psychological survival. Your subconscious treats attacks on identity almost like threats to physical safety. Admitting failure, weakness, hypocrisy, rejection, or harmful behavior can create intense emotional discomfort. To avoid this pain, the subconscious often distorts reality without conscious awareness. It may create excuses, shift blame, deny evidence, minimize mistakes, or reinterpret situations in ways that protect self-esteem. That is why people sometimes defend beliefs even when clear evidence proves them wrong. It explains why individuals justify toxic behavior while criticizing the same behavior in others. In many moments, the subconscious is not searching for truth, it is searching for emotional protection. Psychologists refer to this process as ego defense mechanisms. Denial, projection, rationalization, and selective memory are all subconscious strategies used to reduce emotional discomfort. A person who feels insecure may accuse others of jealousy. Someone who fears failure may convince themselves success was never important. The subconscious quietly reshapes reality to make painful truths easier to survive emotionally. The frightening part is that most people never realize this distortion is happening. They genuinely believe their reactions are rational and objective. Meanwhile, the subconscious continues filtering reality through emotional self-protection first. In many situations, the mind would rather protect identity than fully confront truth, even when the truth could lead to growth, healing, or change. Your subconscious makes you laugh during uncomfortable moments. One of the strangest defenses of the subconscious mind is its tendency to trigger laughter during situations that are not actually funny. In deeply uncomfortable, stressful, awkward, or emotionally intense moments, people often laugh automatically without understanding why. This reaction can feel confusing or even inappropriate, but beneath the surface, the subconscious is trying to protect the mind from emotional overload. Laughter in these moments is not always connected to happiness. Sometimes it is a psychological release valve. When tension rises too quickly, the subconscious searches for a way to reduce emotional pressure before anxiety completely takes over. Nervous laughter becomes a hidden coping mechanism designed to create temporary relief from fear, embarrassment, vulnerability, or social discomfort. This explains why people sometimes laugh during arguments, serious conversations, shocking situations, or moments of humiliation. The subconscious recognizes emotional tension building inside the body and responds instinctively by creating a reaction that diffuses some of that stress. Even though the conscious mind understands the situation is serious, the nervous system is attempting to regain emotional control. Psychologists believe this behavior is connected to survival and social bonding. Humans evolved in groups where managing tension quickly was important for maintaining social stability. Laughter could reduce conflict, ease fear, and signal harmlessness during emotionally charged situations. Because of this, the subconscious still uses laughter as an automatic defense when emotional pressure becomes difficult to regulate. What makes this unsettling is how little control people often have over it. Someone may desperately want to appear calm or respectful, yet the subconscious overrides conscious intention and triggers laughter anyway. In some cases, the reaction even becomes stronger the more a person tries to suppress it. Beneath the surface, the subconscious is not laughing because something feels funny. It is laughing because part of the mind is struggling to survive the emotional discomfort of the moment without becoming overwhelmed. Your subconscious remembers insults more clearly than compliments. One of the darkest tendencies of the subconscious mind is its obsession with negative experiences, especially insults, criticism, and humiliation. Even when you receive praise, love, encouragement, and acceptance from many people, a single insult can remain trapped inside your mind for years with disturbing clarity. The subconscious treats emotional pain as more important than emotional comfort, which is why criticism often leaves a deeper psychological scar than compliments ever do. This happens because the brain is naturally wired to prioritize survival over happiness. From an evolutionary perspective, remembering danger, rejection, or social humiliation increase the chances of avoiding future threats. As a result, the subconscious stores emotionally painful moments with greater intensity than positive ones. An insult becomes emotionally highlighted inside memory, replaying itself repeatedly long after the moment has passed. That is why people can forget dozens of compliments, yet remember one cruel sentence spoken years earlier. A teacher's criticism, a parent's harsh words, a public embarrassment, or a partner's insult can quietly shape self-esteem for decades. Even when conscious logic knows the words were unfair, the subconscious may still treat them as truth because emotionally painful experiences are stored more deeply. The terrifying part is that many insecurities are not created by reality itself, but by repeated emotional wounds the subconscious refuses to release. Over time, old insults begin influencing confidence, behavior, relationships, and identity. A person may avoid opportunities, fear vulnerability, or doubt their worth because their subconscious still carries emotional echoes of words spoken long ago. Manipulators understand this psychological weakness well. Negative comments often carry more emotional weight than positive ones, making criticism a powerful tool for control. While compliments can fade quickly, emotional pain tends to stay alive inside the subconscious far longer than most people realize. Your subconscious pushes you to seek emotional validation. One of the most powerful forces hidden inside the subconscious mind is the constant craving for emotional validation from other people. Deep beneath conscious awareness, the human brain desperately wants reassurance that it matters, belongs, is respected, and is emotionally accepted. Even people who appear independent or emotionally strong are often quietly influenced by this subconscious need in ways they barely recognize. This craving develops because humans evolved as deeply social creatures whose survival depended on group acceptance. Rejection once carried serious danger, so the subconscious became extremely sensitive to approval, attention, and emotional recognition from others. Today, even though modern life has changed, the subconscious still reacts to validation as though emotional acceptance equals safety and survival. This hidden system quietly shapes daily behavior more than most people realize. People often adjust their opinions, appearance, humor, achievements, and even personality to gain approval from others. Social media intensifies this process dramatically. Likes, comments, replies, and attention trigger emotional reward systems inside the brain, making validation feel addictive. A small sign of approval can instantly boost mood, while criticism or being ignored can create emotional pain far stronger than logic considers reasonable. What makes this especially disturbing is how unconscious the process becomes. Many people believe they are making choices freely while their subconscious is actually steering behavior toward emotional reassurance. Sometimes people stay in unhealthy relationships, overwork themselves, seek status, or constantly please others simply because the subconscious fears losing validation. Manipulative individuals understand this weakness very well. By controlling approval, praise, affection, or attention, they can influence emotions and behavior without obvious force. Emotional validation becomes psychological leverage. The darkest part is that the subconscious rarely feels permanently satisfied. External validation gives temporary relief, but the emotional hunger usually returns again. In many cases, the mind keeps chasing reassurance from others because it secretly fears what silence, rejection, or emotional invisibility might reveal underneath. Your subconscious notices body language before words. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is that it often reads a person's body language long before it fully listens to their words. While conversations seem driven by speech on the surface, your subconscious is silently analyzing posture, eye movement, facial tension, hand gestures, breathing patterns, physical distance, and countless nonverbal signals every second. Most of this happens automatically without conscious awareness. This is why you can instantly feel uncomfortable around someone even when their words sound polite. A forced smile, stiff posture, nervous hand movement, prolonged eye contact, or subtle physical tension can quietly trigger emotional reactions before your conscious mind understands why. Your subconscious constantly searches for inconsistencies between what people say and what their body accidentally reveals. Psychologists believe humans evolved this ability because body language was a critical survival tool long before complex language developed. Early humans depended heavily on reading physical signals to detect aggression, fear, dishonesty, attraction, submission, or danger within social groups. Because of this ancient wiring, the subconscious still trusts nonverbal behavior more deeply than spoken words. This hidden process explains why certain people feel trustworthy immediately while others create tension without obvious reason. Your subconscious may detect confidence, insecurity, dishonesty, emotional discomfort, or hidden hostility through tiny physical cues too subtle for conscious thought to fully identify. Manipulators understand this deeply. Skilled deceivers often rehearse words carefully, but controlling body language completely is far more difficult. Brief facial reactions, unnatural movements, forced gestures, or inconsistent emotional expressions can quietly expose hidden intentions beneath the surface. In many situations, your subconscious is paying closer attention to what a person's body is communicating than to the actual sentences leaving their mouth. Long before logic forms conclusions, your subconscious has already started deciding whether someone feels emotionally safe, genuine, threatening, or deceptive based on physical signals alone. Your subconscious stores unresolved shame for years. One of the darkest things about the subconscious mind is its ability to quietly store shame for years without fully letting it disappear. Even when memories fade consciously, unresolved shame often remains buried deep inside the nervous system, silently influencing thoughts, confidence, relationships, and behavior long after the original experience is over. A person may believe they have moved on, while the subconscious continues carrying the emotional weight in the background every single day. Shame is especially powerful because it attacks identity rather than behavior. Guilt says, "I did something bad." Shame whispers, "Something is wrong with me." The subconscious absorbs these emotional wounds deeply, especially during childhood or emotionally vulnerable moments. Humiliation, rejection, criticism, failure, or public embarrassment can become emotionally imprinted inside the mind in ways people do not fully realize. This hidden shame often resurfaces indirectly. Someone may become overly defensive during criticism, terrified of embarrassment, desperate for validation, or emotionally withdrawn without consciously understanding why. Certain situations suddenly trigger anxiety because the subconscious connects them to old emotional wounds buried years earlier. A harmless joke, a specific tone of voice, or even a facial expression can awaken feelings the conscious mind thought were forgotten. Neuroscientists believe emotionally painful memories remain highly active because the brain treats social pain as a serious survival threat. The subconscious stores these experiences carefully in order to avoid repeating them in the future. Unfortunately, this protection system can slowly shape identity itself. What makes unresolved shame especially dangerous is how invisible it becomes. People often organize their entire lives around avoiding feelings they cannot consciously name. They hide parts of themselves, fear vulnerability, overachieve for approval, or sabotage relationships to avoid exposure. Beneath many insecurities, emotional reactions, and self-destructive patterns, the subconscious may still be protecting wounds created years ago that were never truly healed, understood, or emotionally released. Your subconscious makes you fear exclusion more than failure. One of the creepiest truths about the subconscious mind is that it often fears social rejection more deeply than personal failure itself. For many people, the real fear is not losing, making mistakes, or being wrong. The deeper fear is being excluded, judged, ignored, abandoned, or emotionally pushed out by others because of those failures. Beneath conscious awareness, the subconscious treats social disconnection almost like a survival threat. This ancient fear exists because human beings evolved in tribes where belonging meant protection, food, safety, and survival. Thousands of years ago, being rejected by the group could lead to isolation and death. Even though modern society has changed, the subconscious still carries this old survival wiring. As a result, your nervous system reacts strongly to signs of exclusion, embarrassment, or social humiliation. This is why many people stay silent even when they disagree, hide parts of their personality to fit in, or avoid pursuing goals that might attract criticism. The subconscious constantly asks one hidden question beneath social behavior: will this make me accepted or rejected? In many situations, emotional safety becomes more important than honesty, ambition, or self-expression. The disturbing part is that people often sacrifice their real desires just to avoid feeling excluded. Someone may remain in toxic friendships, unhealthy relationships, or emotionally draining environments simply because loneliness feels more frightening than suffering. Others avoid taking risks because failure in front of others feels emotionally unbearable. Social media has intensified this psychological weakness even further. Every ignored message, lack of response, or feeling of being left out can quietly trigger subconscious fears tied to rejection and belonging. While people consciously believe they are chasing success, approval, or achievement, the subconscious is often chasing something much older and more primal: the fear of being emotionally cast out from the group. Your subconscious copies the behavior of people nearby. One of the creepiest things about the subconscious mind is how easily it absorbs and imitates the behavior of people around you without your awareness. Human beings like to believe their actions are completely original, yet the subconscious is constantly watching others and quietly adjusting speech, posture, habits, emotions, opinions, and even energy levels to match the surrounding environment. Most imitation happens automatically long before conscious thought notices it. This hidden behavior comes from deep evolutionary survival instincts. Early humans survived through belonging, cooperation, and social alignment. Those who blended into their group were more likely to stay protected and accepted. Because of this, the subconscious developed powerful mimicry systems designed to help people unconsciously synchronize with others. This is why moods spread quickly through groups. One anxious person can make an entire room tense. One confident person can shift the emotional atmosphere without speaking much at all. Your subconscious constantly studies nearby behavior for clues about how you should feel and act in order to remain socially safe. Scientists often connect this process to mirror neurons in the brain, which activate both when performing actions and when observing others perform them. This creates subconscious imitation in subtle ways. You may begin speaking faster around energetic people, become quieter around dominant personalities, or adopt slang, gestures, opinions, and habits from those you spend time with regularly. What makes this especially unsettling is that prolonged exposure can slowly reshape personality itself. Over time, the subconscious normalizes the emotional patterns and behaviors it repeatedly observes. This is why spending time around negative, fearful, aggressive, ambitious, or emotionally stable people gradually affects your own mindset without obvious awareness. Manipulators and leaders often understand this dynamic intuitively. Emotional energy, confidence, and behavior become contagious because human beings subconsciously synchronize with their environment constantly. In many cases, people are not entirely becoming themselves. They are becoming reflections of the behaviors, emotions, and patterns their subconscious absorbs from those surrounding them every day. Your subconscious makes emotionally unavailable people seem attractive. One of the most disturbing tricks of the subconscious mind is its ability to make emotionally unavailable people feel deeply attractive, even when they consistently create confusion, distance, or emotional pain. Many people believe attraction is purely based on conscious choice, but the subconscious often shapes desire using emotional patterns formed long before adulthood. Sometimes the people who trigger the strongest emotional pull are not the healthiest for you. They simply feel emotionally familiar. This happens because the subconscious is heavily influenced by early emotional experiences, especially those connected to love, attention, validation, and rejection. If affection during childhood felt inconsistent, distant, unpredictable, or difficult to earn, the subconscious may begin associating emotional unavailability with desire itself. As a result, people who are cold, mysterious, emotionally distant, or hard to fully reach can unconsciously activate powerful emotional responses. The uncertainty becomes psychologically addictive. Occasional affection mixed with distance creates emotional highs and lows that strongly stimulate the brain's reward systems. Each small moment of validation feels more valuable because it is unpredictable. Over time, the subconscious confuses emotional struggle with emotional depth. This explains why emotionally available people sometimes feel boring at first to individuals conditioned by emotional inconsistency. Stability may feel unfamiliar because the subconscious learned to associate love with tension, pursuit, anxiety, or emotional unpredictability. Manipulative individuals often exploit this dynamic intentionally. By remaining emotionally distant while offering occasional validation, they create powerful attachment cycles that keep others emotionally invested. The subconscious becomes obsessed with gaining approval from someone who never fully gives it. The frightening part is that many people do not realize they are chasing emotional patterns rather than genuine connection. Their subconscious is not always seeking peace, safety, or healthy love. Sometimes it is unconsciously recreating unresolved emotional experiences that still feel unfinished deep beneath awareness. Your subconscious notices when someone secretly dislikes you, One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it senses hidden dislike long before words openly reveal it. Human beings constantly communicate through tiny emotional signals that most people never consciously notice. A slight delay in response, forced politeness, reduced eye contact, subtle facial tension, changes in tone, restrained irritation, or unnatural smiles can all quietly signal emotional hostility beneath the surface. Your subconscious absorbs these details automatically, even when your conscious mind cannot explain why someone suddenly feels off. This hidden detection system developed because humans evolved in social groups where recognizing emotional threats early was important for survival. Someone secretly resentful, jealous, or hostile could become dangerous long before openly showing aggression. Because of this, the subconscious became highly sensitive to emotional inconsistencies in behavior. This explains why certain interactions suddenly feel draining even when nothing obviously negative happens. You may leave a conversation feeling tense, unsettled, or emotionally exhausted without understanding exactly why. Sometimes your subconscious notices hidden resentment buried beneath fake friendliness. The conscious mind hears polite words, but the subconscious detects emotional friction underneath them. What makes this unsettling is that people often try to ignore these instincts in order to appear rational or avoid conflict. Logic searches for proof, while the subconscious already feels the emotional shift. Over time, repeated exposure to hidden dislike can slowly affect confidence, anxiety levels, and emotional energy without obvious explanation. Psychologists believe humans unconsciously detect emotional authenticity through countless tiny signals processed beneath awareness. The subconscious constantly compares words against tone, facial expressions, timing, and body language to judge emotional sincerity. In many situations, your subconscious notices hostility before your conscious mind is willing to accept it. By the time someone openly reveals resentment, betrayal, or dislike, part of you often realizes the emotional warning signs were quietly present from the very beginning. Your subconscious makes rejection feel larger than reality. One of the most painful tricks the subconscious mind plays is turning rejection into something emotionally bigger than it truly is. Even small moments of disapproval, distance, silence, or criticism can feel overwhelming because the subconscious interprets rejection as a serious emotional threat rather than a simple human experience. What may objectively be a minor event can internally feel devastating, personal, and deeply unsettling. This happens because the subconscious does not process rejection logically at first. Instead, it reacts emotionally and instinctively. A delayed reply, lack of attention, breakup, disagreement, or social exclusion can trigger feelings of panic, shame, insecurity, or worthlessness before conscious reasoning has time to evaluate the situation properly. Your nervous system reacts as though something far more dangerous is happening beneath the surface. Psychologists believe this intense reaction is connected to humanity's ancient survival instincts. For early humans, rejection from the group could threaten protection, cooperation, and survival itself. Because of this, the brain evolved to treat social rejection seriously. Even today, the subconscious often reacts to emotional exclusion using the same systems involved in physical pain. This is why rejection can feel physically heavy. The chest tightens, thoughts spiral, appetite changes, sleep becomes difficult, and emotional balance disappears. In many cases, the subconscious is not only reacting to the present rejection, but also awakening older emotional wounds connected to abandonment, criticism, or loneliness from the past. The terrifying part is how distorted reality can become under emotional pain. One rejection can suddenly make people question their attractiveness, intelligence, value, or future. The subconscious magnifies the emotional meaning of the experience, far beyond the actual event itself. While the conscious mind searches for explanations, the subconscious quietly treats rejection like proof of danger, making emotional pain feel far larger than reality often is. Your subconscious connects stress with physical hunger. One of the strangest and most manipulative behaviors of the subconscious mind is the way it can confuse emotional stress with physical hunger. Many people believe they eat simply because their body needs food, but the subconscious often uses eating as a psychological response to anxiety, loneliness, fear, boredom, emotional exhaustion, or internal discomfort. In these moments, the craving is not always coming from the stomach. It is coming from the nervous system searching for relief. This hidden connection forms because food activates powerful reward and comfort systems inside the brain. From childhood, many people subconsciously associate eating with emotional safety, comfort, distraction, love, or temporary escape from stress. Over time, the brain begins linking emotional discomfort with the urge to consume something pleasurable, especially foods high in sugar, fat, or carbohydrates that rapidly trigger dopamine and calming chemical responses. This explains why stress can suddenly create intense cravings even shortly after eating. During emotionally overwhelming moments, the subconscious seeks quick relief from tension, and food becomes an easy coping mechanism. The act of chewing, tasting, and feeling temporarily full can briefly calm the nervous system and distract the mind from emotional pressure. What makes this especially disturbing is how automatic the process becomes. Many people open refrigerators or snack mindlessly without consciously understanding why they are eating. The subconscious reacts before awareness fully catches up. Emotional stress quietly transforms into physical craving. Scientists believe stress hormones like cortisol also play a major role. When the subconscious senses prolonged emotional pressure, cortisol levels rise, increasing appetite and making the body seek high-energy foods for perceived survival preparation. The darkest part is that emotional eating rarely solves the real problem. Relief lasts briefly, while the underlying stress remains active underneath. In many cases, the subconscious is not truly hungry for food at all. It is hungry for comfort, safety, emotional relief, or escape from feelings it does not fully know how to process. Your subconscious creates emotional reactions before logical thoughts. One of the creepiest truths about the human mind is that emotions often appear before logic has time to understand what is happening. Most people believe they think first and feel second, but the subconscious frequently reverses that process. Long before conscious reasoning begins analyzing a situation, your subconscious has already scanned the environment, compared it to emotional memories, detected possible threats or rewards, and triggered an emotional response inside your body. This means fear, anger, attraction, discomfort, anxiety, trust, or suspicion can begin forming within seconds, even before you consciously understand why you feel that way. Your heartbeat changes, muscles tighten, breathing shifts, and emotional tension builds automatically. Only afterward does the conscious mind begin searching for explanations that justify the feeling already created beneath awareness. Neuroscientists believe this happens because the emotional systems of the brain process information much faster than the logical systems responsible for rational thinking. From an evolutionary perspective, quick emotional reactions increased survival. Early humans who paused too long to logically analyze danger often did not survive long enough to pass on their genes. Because of this, your subconscious still prioritizes emotional reaction over careful reasoning. This hidden process explains why first impressions feel immediate and powerful. It explains why certain people instantly create comfort or unease before they even speak much. It also explains why arguments become emotional before logical points are fully considered. In many moments, Your subconscious has already emotionally chosen a side before logic begins participating. Manipulators often exploit this reality by targeting emotion first rather than reason. Fear, outrage, desire, and insecurity can bypass logical analysis very quickly when emotional systems are activated strongly enough. The unsettling part is that most people believe their thoughts control their emotions, while in reality, the subconscious often creates the emotional experience first and allows logic to arrive later to defend it. Your subconscious predicts danger from certain facial expressions. One of the most unsettling abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it interprets facial expressions as signals of possible danger. Before a person even speaks, your subconscious is already studying their eyes, jaw tension, eyebrow movement, mouth position, and micro-expressions to predict whether they feel safe, aggressive, unstable, deceptive, or emotionally threatening. Most of this analysis happens silently beneath awareness, long before your conscious mind forms a logical opinion. This ancient survival system developed because early humans depended heavily on reading emotional cues quickly. A single facial expression could reveal anger, fear, dominance, or violent intention before physical danger actually appeared. Those who reacted faster were more likely to survive. Even today, your subconscious still treats certain expressions as warning signs, even in ordinary social situations. This explains why some faces instantly make people feel nervous without knowing exactly why. A forced smile, cold eyes, tightened lips, fake enthusiasm, or hidden irritation can create subconscious discomfort within seconds. Sometimes a person appears completely calm on the surface, yet your nervous system quietly reacts because the subconscious notices emotional signals that do not fully match the words being spoken. Psychologists often study micro-expressions, tiny emotional flashes that appear for fractions of a second before people consciously control their faces. The subconscious is remarkably sensitive to these hidden emotional leaks. It constantly compares facial behavior against emotional patterns stored from past experiences, trauma, fear, and social memory. What makes this especially disturbing is how physical the reaction becomes. Your muscles tense slightly, your heartbeat changes, your attention sharpens without permission. Often your body senses emotional danger before your conscious mind understands what triggered the feeling. In many situations, the subconscious does not wait for proof before reacting. It predicts emotional threat based on tiny facial signals that most people never consciously notice, silently preparing the body for danger before logic has fully entered the conversation. Your subconscious makes eye contact feel threatening during insecurity. One of the strangest ways the subconscious mind reveals insecurity is through eye contact. Something as simple and natural as looking another person in the eyes can suddenly feel emotionally intense, uncomfortable, or even threatening when the subconscious senses vulnerability, fear, shame, or low confidence. Long before conscious thought explains the discomfort, the nervous system already reacts beneath the surface. Eye contact is far more psychologically powerful than most people realize. Humans unconsciously use it to measure confidence, honesty, dominance, attraction, emotional safety, and social status. Because of this, the subconscious treats direct eye contact as a deeply emotional form of exposure. When someone feels insecure, judged, intimidated, or emotionally unsafe, maintaining eye contact can trigger subconscious stress responses automatically. This is why people often look away during moments of embarrassment, anxiety, guilt, or self-doubt. The subconscious perceives prolonged eye contact as a risk because it creates the feeling of being emotionally seen. For someone struggling with insecurity, this can feel overwhelming. Even kind or neutral attention may unconsciously feel like evaluation or judgment. Scientists believe this reaction is connected to ancient survival instincts tied to social hierarchy and threat detection. In both humans and animals, eye contact can communicate dominance, aggression, submission, or emotional challenge. Because of this, the subconscious remains highly sensitive to it even in everyday social situations. The disturbing part is that people are often unaware their body is reacting this way. They simply feel awkward, tense, or emotionally exposed around certain individuals. Meanwhile, the subconscious quietly lowers eye contact, increases nervousness, and activates defensive behavior beneath awareness. This is also why confident people often maintain calm eye contact naturally, while insecure individuals may struggle with it without understanding why. In many cases, the discomfort is not caused by the other person at all. It is caused by the subconscious fear of emotional exposure hiding underneath insecurity itself. Your subconscious notices lies through tiny inconsistencies. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is its power to detect dishonesty before your conscious mind fully understands why something feels wrong. While people focus on spoken words, the subconscious quietly scans for tiny inconsistencies hidden beneath them. Facial expressions, pauses, eye movements, tone shifts, forced smiles, unnatural timing, body tension, and emotional mismatch are all analyzed automatically in the background without conscious effort. This is why certain people can trigger discomfort even when their story sounds believable on the surface. Your subconscious often notices subtle contradictions before logic catches them. A person may say they are calm while their voice tightens slightly. They may smile while their eyes appear emotionally cold. Their words sound confident, yet their body language leaks hesitation or hidden anxiety. The conscious mind may miss these details individually, but the subconscious combines them into a powerful emotional signal that something feels off. Psychologists believe humans evolved this ability because detecting deception was critical for survival inside social groups. Trusting dishonest individuals could lead to betrayal, exclusion, theft, violence, or death. As a result, the subconscious became extremely sensitive to behavioral irregularities that suggest hidden intent. What makes this especially disturbing is that liars often reveal themselves through emotional leakage they cannot fully control. Even skilled manipulators struggle to keep every part of communication perfectly aligned. The subconscious emotional state frequently escapes through micro-expressions, voice tension, unnatural pauses, or body movements lasting only fractions of a second. This hidden system explains why intuition sometimes feels frighteningly accurate. People often sense dishonesty long before they can logically explain their suspicion. The body reacts first through tension, uneasiness, or distrust, while the conscious mind searches for evidence afterward. In many situations, your subconscious is silently collecting clues faster than conscious reasoning can process them, detecting emotional inconsistencies hidden underneath carefully chosen words long before the truth fully reveals itself. Your subconscious remembers emotional pain through smells and places. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is how deeply it attaches emotional pain to specific smells and locations without your awareness. Long after painful experiences fade from conscious thought, certain environments or scents can suddenly reactivate emotions buried deep inside the nervous system. A hallway, a perfume, an old building, a particular season, or even the smell of rain can quietly awaken feelings your mind thought were gone years ago. This happens because the subconscious stores emotional experiences together with sensory information from the moment they occurred. During emotionally intense situations, the brain records not only what happened, but also the sounds, smells, lighting, atmosphere, and physical surroundings connected to the experience. Later, encountering those same sensory details can subconsciously trigger the emotional state attached to them. That is why certain places instantly feel emotionally heavy without obvious explanation. You may enter a room and suddenly feel anxious, sad, or emotionally uncomfortable before consciously remembering what happened there. Sometimes your mood changes simply because a scent unconsciously reminds your brain of heartbreak, grief, rejection, loneliness, fear, or trauma connected to another time in your life. Neuroscientists believe smell is especially powerful because it connects directly to the emotional and memory centers of the brain. Unlike other senses, scent bypasses many logical filters and activates emotional memory systems almost immediately. This is why emotional reactions triggered by smell often feel sudden and overwhelming. The frightening part is that your subconscious does not clearly separate past emotional pain from present reality. When certain smells or places reactivate old memories, your nervous system may respond as though the emotional danger still exists right now. In many cases, people are not reacting entirely to the present moment. Their subconscious is responding to emotional ghosts attached to environments and sensations it never truly forgot. Your subconscious makes peaceful situations feel suspicious after chaos. One of the most disturbing effects of the subconscious mind is how easily it becomes addicted to emotional chaos. After spending long periods in stressful, unpredictable, or emotionally unstable environments, the subconscious begins adapting to tension as though it is normal. Over time, constant stress stops feeling unusual, and peace itself can start feeling unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or even dangerous. This is why some people struggle to relax in calm relationships, quiet environments, or emotionally stable situations. Instead of feeling safe, their subconscious becomes restless. Silence feels strange. Kindness feels suspicious. Stability feels temporary. Part of the mind keeps waiting for something bad to happen because chaos trained the nervous system to stay constantly alert. Psychologists often connect this to survival conditioning. When someone lives through repeated conflict, criticism, emotional unpredictability, or instability, the subconscious learns to remain hypervigilant in order to protect against future pain. Stress hormones become familiar. Emotional tension becomes expected. Eventually, the nervous system begins associating calmness with vulnerability because peaceful moments in the past may have been interrupted suddenly by danger, anger, or emotional hurt. What makes this especially unsettling is that people often sabotage peace without realizing it. Healthy relationships may start feeling emotionally boring simply because the subconscious mistakes calmness for emotional emptiness. Some people unconsciously create conflict, overthink harmless situations, or push others away because chaos feels emotionally recognizable while peace feels psychologically foreign. This hidden conditioning affects relationships, friendships, work environments, and self-worth more deeply than most people realize. Even when life becomes safer, the subconscious may continue operating as though danger is still nearby. In many cases, the hardest part of healing is not escaping chaos itself. It is teaching the subconscious that peace is not a trap, silence is not a warning sign, and calmness does not always mean something terrible is about to happen. Your subconscious changes your confidence based on social status nearby. One of the creepiest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it adjusts your confidence depending on who is around you. Without your permission, the subconscious constantly scans social environments for power, status, influence, attractiveness, wealth, intelligence, and dominance. The moment it identifies someone it perceives as higher status, your thoughts, posture, voice, and emotional state can begin changing automatically before you consciously notice it happening. This hidden process explains why many people suddenly become quieter, more nervous, or overly self-conscious around celebrities, authority figures, highly attractive individuals, wealthy people, or socially dominant personalities. The subconscious interprets status as socially important, and because humans evolved inside hierarchical groups, the brain became deeply sensitive to where it stands within those social structures. Your breathing may shift, your posture changes slightly, your words become more careful. Sometimes you laugh more nervously or begin overthinking simple interactions. The terrifying part is that these reactions often happen automatically beneath awareness. Even when you consciously believe everyone is equal, your subconscious may still respond differently, depending on the social signals around you. Scientists believe this behavior developed because understanding social hierarchy was critical for survival in early human societies. Higher status individuals often controlled resources, protection, opportunities, and group acceptance. As a result, the subconscious learned to monitor social ranking constantly in order to avoid conflict and increase chances of belonging. This is also why confidence can instantly rise or collapse depending on the environment. A person may feel powerful in one social setting and deeply insecure in another without understanding why. Their subconscious is reacting to perceived status differences beneath conscious awareness. Manipulative individuals often exploit this psychological weakness through displays of power, luxury, confidence, or authority because they understand status strongly influences human behavior. In many situations, your confidence is not entirely your own. It is being quietly shaped by the invisible social hierarchy your subconscious constantly measures around you. Your subconscious pushes you to repeat childhood patterns. One of the darkest and most unsettling behaviors of the subconscious mind is its tendency to recreate emotional patterns from childhood over and over again, even when those patterns caused pain. Deep beneath conscious awareness, the subconscious becomes attached to what feels emotionally familiar, not necessarily what is healthy. As a result, people often repeat the same relationship dynamics, emotional reactions, fears, and self-destructive habits throughout life without realizing where those patterns truly began. Childhood is when the subconscious first learns how love, safety, conflict, attention, and emotional survival work. The brain absorbs these experiences intensely because children depend completely on their environment to survive. Over time, repeated emotional experiences become internal programs stored deep inside the subconscious mind. Later in adulthood, the subconscious unconsciously searches for situations and people that resemble those early emotional conditions because familiarity feels psychologically safe. This explains why some people repeatedly choose emotionally unavailable partners, fear abandonment constantly, struggle with self-worth, or feel uncomfortable around healthy affection. Even painful emotional environments can feel strangely normal if the subconscious was conditioned to them early in life. Chaos, criticism, emotional distance, instability, or people-pleasing may become deeply wired patterns that continue repeating automatically. Psychologists often describe this as emotional conditioning or repetition compulsion. The subconscious keeps recreating familiar emotional experiences, partly because the brain prefers predictability, and partly because unresolved emotional wounds silently seek closure. Unfortunately, repetition rarely heals the wound. It usually deepens it. What makes this especially creepy is how invisible the process feels. Many people believe they are making independent choices, while their subconscious quietly pulls them toward familiar emotional scripts written years earlier. Even when someone consciously wants change, the subconscious may resist because unfamiliar emotional experiences can feel unsafe. In many cases, people are not simply reacting to the present moment. They are unconsciously reliving emotional patterns their subconscious learned long before they fully understood themselves. Your subconscious notices when attention in a room shifts away from you. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects changes in social attention, often before your conscious mind fully realizes what is happening. Human beings are deeply wired to monitor social acceptance, status, and emotional connection within groups. Because of this, your subconscious constantly scans the environment for signs of inclusion, rejection, admiration, disinterest, or social threat without your awareness. This hidden system notices tiny shifts in eye contact, body orientation, facial expressions, voice tone, and conversational energy the moment attention begins moving away from you. Someone stops making eye contact. Another person interrupts more often. The group laughs less at your comments. A conversation slowly excludes you without openly saying so. Your subconscious absorbs these subtle social signals instantly, and emotional reactions begin forming before logic fully catches up. That is why certain social situations suddenly feel uncomfortable even when nothing openly negative has happened. Your energy changes. You may feel awkward, insecure, anxious, invisible, or emotionally disconnected without immediately understanding why. In reality, your subconscious has already detected a shift in group dynamics beneath conscious awareness. Psychologists believe this sensitivity developed because early humans depended heavily on social belonging for survival. Being excluded from the tribe once carried serious danger. Because of this ancient wiring, your subconscious still treats social attention as emotionally important, even in modern environments where survival no longer depends on it directly. This hidden process also explains why social rejection can feel physically painful. Studies have shown that the brain often processes exclusion using some of the same neural systems involved in physical pain. Your subconscious interprets loss of attention as a potential threat to connection and emotional safety. In many situations, your conscious mind may still be trying to act normal, while your subconscious has already realized the emotional atmosphere in the room is quietly changing around you. Your subconscious makes unfamiliar success feel unsafe. One of the strangest and most self-destructive behaviors of the subconscious mind is its tendency to resist success when that success feels emotionally unfamiliar. Consciously, people often say they want growth, achievement, confidence, wealth, love, or recognition. But beneath the surface, the subconscious is constantly asking a different question. Does this feel safe? If success represents an emotional reality the mind has never fully experienced before, the subconscious may quietly begin resisting it without the person realizing why. The human brain is deeply attached to familiarity. Even painful situations can feel psychologically safer than stepping into unknown territory. If someone grows up surrounded by failure, criticism, limitation, instability, or low expectations, the subconscious may unconsciously treat struggle as normal. Success then becomes emotionally unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity often triggers fear inside the nervous system. This hidden fear can appear in subtle but powerful ways. A person procrastinates when opportunities appear. They suddenly lose motivation near important breakthroughs. They overthink compliments, doubt their abilities, or sabotage relationships once things start going well. Sometimes they create unnecessary problems simply because peace, confidence, or achievement feels emotionally unnatural. Psychologists often refer to this as subconscious self-sabotage. The mind tries to pull people back toward emotional environments it already understands, even if those environments are limiting or painful. The subconscious values predictability more than potential. It would rather stay inside familiar discomfort than risk entering an unfamiliar identity. What makes this especially unsettling is how invisible the process becomes. People often believe External circumstances are holding them back, while deep underneath awareness, their subconscious is resisting the very future they consciously desire. In many cases, success is not rejected because someone lacks talent or opportunity. It is rejected because the subconscious still associates unfamiliar growth with uncertainty, emotional exposure, pressure, judgment, or danger, quietly convincing the mind that remaining small somehow feels safer than becoming something new. Your subconscious searches for proof that your fears are correct. One of the darkest habits of the subconscious mind is its tendency to search for evidence that confirms your existing fears. Once a fear takes root emotionally, the subconscious begins filtering reality through that fear, constantly scanning for signs that support it, while ignoring information that contradicts it. Instead of seeking truth objectively, the subconscious often seeks emotional confirmation. This is why insecure people tend to notice rejection more than acceptance. Someone afraid of abandonment becomes hyper-aware of delayed messages, changes in tone, emotional distance, or moments of silence. A person who fears failure notices every mistake while overlooking progress. Someone convinced they are unlovable may unconsciously focus only on behaviors that reinforce that painful belief. The subconscious quietly builds a world that seems to validate the fear already living inside it. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, but beneath the scientific term lies something deeply unsettling. Your subconscious does not simply observe reality, it actively shapes the way you interpret it. Fear changes attention itself. Once the brain labels something as emotionally important, it becomes easier to notice patterns connected to that fear everywhere. This process originally evolved as a survival mechanism. Early humans who remembered danger and stayed alert to threats were more likely to survive. But in modern life, this same system can trap people inside cycles of anxiety, insecurity, jealousy, and emotional self-destruction. The terrifying part is that the subconscious can quietly manipulate perception without you realizing it. Neutral situations begin feeling negative, small problems appear larger, ambiguous behavior becomes suspicious. Over time, fears start feeling proven simply because the subconscious selectively notices evidence supporting them. This is why deeply rooted fears often become self-fulfilling. People unknowingly behave differently based on the emotional reality their subconscious already believes is true. In many cases, the mind is not reacting to objective reality at all. It is reacting to fears it has already decided must be real. Your subconscious notices emotional distance before words reveal it. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects emotional withdrawal long before anyone openly admits that something has changed. Human beings communicate far more through emotional energy, body language, tone, eye contact, and behavioral shifts than through actual words. While the conscious mind focuses on conversations, the subconscious quietly monitors these subtle changes constantly, searching for signs of connection, rejection, warmth, or detachment. This is why people often feel someone pulling away before they can explain why. Messages become slightly shorter. Eye contact weakens. The warmth inside conversations fades. Responses feel emotionally delayed or forced. Small changes most people cannot consciously describe begin triggering discomfort deep inside the nervous system. Your subconscious notices these emotional inconsistencies almost immediately because human survival historically depended on maintaining strong social bonds. Psychologists believe the brain evolved to become highly sensitive to signs of rejection or abandonment because losing connection with a social group once carried serious survival risks. As a result, the subconscious constantly scans relationships for emotional closeness or distance. Even tiny shifts can activate anxiety before logic fully understands what is happening. What makes this especially disturbing is how accurate these subconscious signals often are. Many people ignore their intuition because there is no proof yet, only to later realize their subconscious had already detected emotional withdrawal through hundreds of tiny, unconscious cues. The body senses emotional absence before the conscious mind finds evidence for it. Manipulative people sometimes exploit this system intentionally by using emotional distance as psychological control. Becoming colder, less responsive, or emotionally unavailable can trigger insecurity because the subconscious interprets withdrawal as possible rejection or loss. The darkest part is that emotional distance often hurts before words are ever spoken. Long before breakups, betrayals, or conflict become official, the subconscious may already feel the connection weakening silently underneath the surface, reacting to emotional changes the conscious mind is still struggling to fully accept. Your subconscious turns small criticism into deep emotional threat. One of the darkest tendencies of the subconscious mind is how easily it can transform small criticism into something that feels emotionally dangerous. A simple comment, a disappointed tone, a slight correction, or mild disapproval can sometimes trigger emotional reactions far stronger than the situation logically deserves. Long before rational thinking fully evaluates the criticism, your subconscious may already interpret it as rejection, humiliation, failure, or loss of worth. This happens because the human mind is deeply conditioned to protect social acceptance and emotional identity. Throughout evolution, criticism within social groups could threaten status, belonging, and survival itself. Because of this, the subconscious often reacts to negative feedback with surprising emotional intensity, even in situations where no real danger exists. That is why a single sentence can stay in someone's mind for days while dozens of compliments disappear quickly. Your subconscious gives emotional priority to negative information because it treats potential social threat as more important than emotional comfort. A harmless correction at work may quietly trigger feelings of inadequacy. A disappointed facial expression from someone important may reactivate old fears of rejection or failure buried deep beneath awareness. Childhood experiences often intensify this reaction. People raised around constant criticism, emotional unpredictability, harsh parenting, or conditional approval may develop subconscious systems that become highly sensitive to disapproval. As adults, even minor criticism can unconsciously reopen emotional wounds connected to shame, embarrassment, or fear of not being enough. Manipulative individuals sometimes exploit this vulnerability intentionally. By mixing approval with criticism, they create emotional dependence and insecurity that keeps others seeking validation constantly. The frightening part is that your conscious mind may know the criticism is small, yet your subconscious reacts as though something far more serious is happening. In many moments, the emotional pain is not only about the present comment itself. It is connected to older emotional fears your subconscious still remembers deeply. Your subconscious makes you trust confidence over honesty. One of the most dangerous flaws in the subconscious mind is its tendency to associate confidence with truth. Long before logic carefully evaluates facts, the subconscious often judges people based on certainty, body language, tone, and emotional presence. Someone who speaks boldly, maintains strong eye contact, and appears emotionally certain can feel more believable than someone who is actually honest but hesitant or uncertain. This happens because the subconscious constantly searches for signals of strength, leadership, and certainty in social environments. Throughout human evolution, confident individuals were often perceived as more capable of leading groups during danger or uncertainty. As a result, the brain develops shortcuts that automatically connect confidence with competence and trustworthiness, even when no real evidence exists. This psychological bias explains why charismatic manipulators, con artists, and narcissistic personalities can influence people so effectively. Many of them project certainty with remarkable skill. They speak without hesitation, rarely admit doubt, and present opinions as absolute truth. The subconscious interprets this emotional certainty as a sign of reliability, causing people to lower skepticism without realizing it. Meanwhile, genuinely honest people may appear less convincing simply because honesty often includes caution, reflection, nuance, or uncertainty. A truthful person may say, "I'm not completely sure," while a dishonest person confidently delivers false information without hesitation. Ironically, the subconscious often responds more positively to the second person. The terrifying part is how easily confidence can override critical thinking. In emotional situations, people frequently trust how someone feels rather than whether their words are actually accurate. A calm voice, dominant posture, and persuasive energy can create an illusion of truth powerful enough to influence entire groups. This hidden weakness shapes politics, relationships, business, and social influence every day. In many situations, the subconscious is not asking, "Is this person honest?" It is asking, "Does this person feel certain enough to follow?" Your subconscious notices subtle anger hidden behind politeness. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects hidden anger beneath polite behavior. Even when someone smiles, speaks calmly, and acts socially appropriate, your subconscious quietly studies the emotional signals underneath their words. Tiny changes in facial tension, tone, pauses, eye contact, breathing, and body language can reveal emotions the conscious mind tries to hide. The disturbing part is that your subconscious often senses the hostility before you consciously realize anything feels wrong. This is why certain conversations suddenly feel emotionally uncomfortable, even when nothing openly negative is being said. Someone may sound polite on the surface, yet their energy feels cold, irritated, dismissive, or emotionally sharp. Your conscious mind may struggle to explain the discomfort because the anger is subtle, controlled, or passive-aggressive. But your subconscious notices the emotional inconsistency immediately. Humans evolved to detect hidden emotional threats because social conflict could quickly become dangerous. As a result, the subconscious became highly sensitive to signs of suppressed aggression. A forced smile, unnatural politeness, tightened jaw muscles, slightly delayed responses, or emotionally flat warmth can quietly trigger tension inside your nervous system. This hidden detection system explains why people sometimes leave conversations feeling drained without understanding why. Their subconscious spent the entire interaction analyzing emotional danger beneath the surface. The body reacts first through tension, discomfort, alertness, or emotional exhaustion, while the conscious mind tries to remain socially polite. Manipulative people often rely on concealed anger because indirect hostility gives them plausible deniability. They remain outwardly polite while subtly communicating resentment, judgment, or aggression underneath their words. The subconscious often senses these emotional contradictions even when the conscious mind ignores them. In many situations, your discomfort around someone is not paranoia at all. It is your subconscious quietly recognizing anger hidden behind controlled politeness. Your subconscious makes you fear disappointing people. One of the most powerful hidden fears inside the human mind is the fear of disappointing others. Even when people consciously claim they do not care what others think, the subconscious often reacts to disappointment as though it were emotional danger. Deep beneath awareness, the mind constantly seeks acceptance, approval, and belonging, which is why letting people down can trigger guilt, anxiety, shame, and emotional pressure far stronger than logic alone can explain. This fear develops because human survival once depended heavily on maintaining social bonds. In ancient communities, losing trust, approval, or group support could threaten protection, resources, and safety itself. Because of this, the subconscious evolved to treat social disappointment seriously. Even today, the nervous system can react intensely to the thought of upsetting parents, partners, friends, authority figures, or people whose opinions feel emotionally important. This hidden fear quietly shapes countless decisions. Many people overwork themselves, avoid confrontation, suppress their real feelings, or say yes when they want to say no, simply because disappointing others feels emotionally unbearable. The subconscious often prioritizes avoiding guilt over protecting personal peace. In extreme cases, people begin living for approval so consistently that they lose connection with what they genuinely want. What makes this especially disturbing is how invisible the process becomes. Someone may believe they are being kind or responsible, while their subconscious is actually operating from fear of rejection, criticism, or emotional abandonment. The body responds physically as well. Heart rate increases, tension builds, and anxiety appears whenever the possibility of disappointing someone arises. Manipulative individuals often recognize this weakness quickly. Guilt, emotional pressure, silent disapproval, and disappointment become tools of control because the subconscious desperately wants emotional harmony restored. The darkest part is that people who fear disappointing others too deeply often end up disappointing themselves constantly instead. Their subconscious becomes so focused on maintaining acceptance that personal boundaries, emotional honesty, and inner peace slowly begin disappearing underneath the weight of other people's expectations. Your subconscious remembers emotional trauma through physical sensations. One of the creepiest things about the subconscious mind is that emotional trauma is often remembered not only through thoughts, but through the body itself. Even when conscious memory becomes blurry or distant, the nervous system can continue storing emotional pain through physical sensations for years. This means your body may react to old emotional wounds long before your conscious mind fully understands what is happening. A sudden tightness in the chest, a racing heartbeat, shaking hands, stomach discomfort, muscle tension, or difficulty breathing can sometimes appear without obvious reason. Certain voices, environments, smells, facial expressions, or situations may quietly activate emotional memories buried deep inside the subconscious. Your body reacts first, while your conscious mind struggles to explain why the emotional intensity feels so overwhelming. Psychologists and neuroscientists believe trauma becomes deeply connected to the nervous system because survival responses are stored physically as well as emotionally. During highly stressful experiences, the brain prepares the body for danger through fight, flight, freeze, or shutdown reactions. Even after the event ends, the subconscious may continue treating similar situations as threats if emotional healing never fully occurred. This explains why some people feel physically exhausted around conflict, emotionally numb during stress, or suddenly anxious in situations that seem harmless on the surface. Their subconscious recognizes emotional patterns connected to past pain and automatically triggers physical survival responses. The frightening part is that many people do not realize their body is remembering something their conscious mind has tried to move past. Emotional trauma does not always return as clear memories. Sometimes it returns as unexplained physical reactions, emotional heaviness, chronic tension, or overwhelming discomfort triggered by seemingly ordinary moments. In many situations, the subconscious is not simply remembering the emotional event itself. It is recreating the physical survival state that once came with it, causing the body to relive emotional danger long after the original moment has ended. Your subconscious makes certain locations feel emotionally heavy. One of the eeriest abilities of the subconscious mind is how it attaches emotions to physical places without your awareness. Certain locations can instantly feel emotionally heavy, uncomfortable, draining, or unsettling, even when nothing visibly wrong is happening. The moment you enter the space, your mood shifts. Your body feels tense. Your thoughts become different. Sometimes you cannot explain the feeling logically, yet your subconscious reacts as if the environment itself carries emotional weight. This happens because the subconscious constantly stores emotional experiences together with surrounding details, including places, lighting, sounds, smells, and atmosphere. If intense emotions such as fear, heartbreak, loneliness, humiliation, grief, or anxiety repeatedly occurred in a certain location, your subconscious links that environment to those emotional states. Later, simply returning to that place can reactivate the same emotions automatically. You may walk into an old classroom, childhood home, hospital, workplace, or even a specific street and suddenly feel sadness or tension rising inside you without understanding why. Sometimes the conscious memory connected to the location has faded, but the emotional imprint remains alive beneath awareness. Your subconscious remembers how you felt there, even when your mind struggles to recall the details. Scientists believe this occurs because emotional memory is deeply tied to environmental context. The brain uses surroundings as psychological cues, allowing certain places to trigger emotional states stored long ago. This is why trauma survivors often react strongly to locations connected to painful experiences. The disturbing part is that these emotional reactions can quietly shape behavior without conscious awareness. People may avoid certain places, feel exhausted in specific environments, or experience anxiety in locations tied to unresolved emotional pain. In many cases, the location itself is not dangerous at all. What feels heavy is the emotional residue your subconscious attached to it years earlier, silently turning ordinary places into emotional reminders your nervous system never fully forgot. Your subconscious notices attraction before conscious awareness. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is that it often detects attraction long before your conscious mind realizes you are interested in someone. Before logic begins analyzing appearance, personality, or compatibility, the subconscious has already started reacting to subtle signals beneath awareness. Your body notices first. Your conscious thoughts simply arrive later, trying to explain the feeling. This hidden process happens incredibly fast. Within seconds of seeing someone, the subconscious begins studying facial symmetry, voice tone, scent, posture, eye contact, emotional energy, confidence, and countless other subconscious signals connected to attraction. Most of these details are processed automatically without conscious effort. You may suddenly feel more alert, emotionally aware, nervous, curious, or energized around someone before understanding why. Scientists believe attraction is deeply tied to subconscious pattern recognition. The brain constantly compares people to emotional memories, past experiences, biological preferences, and psychological associations built over years of life. Sometimes attraction forms because someone unconsciously resembles a comforting figure from childhood. Other times, it comes from emotional familiarity, mystery, confidence, or subtle behavioral traits the conscious mind cannot immediately identify. This is why people often deny attraction at first while their body quietly reveals it. Eye contact lasts longer. Breathing changes slightly. Attention becomes more focused. Posture shifts unconsciously. The subconscious reacts physically before conscious thought catches up. The disturbing part is that attraction is not always logical or healthy. The subconscious can become drawn toward emotional patterns connected to unresolved wounds, validation, excitement, or familiarity rather than genuine compatibility. This explains why people sometimes feel intensely attracted to individuals they consciously know are bad for them. Manipulators often exploit subconscious attraction through confidence, emotional intensity, and carefully controlled attention because they understand how quickly the subconscious responds to emotional stimulation. In many cases, attraction begins long before conscious choice exists, proving that the subconscious quietly influences human connection far more than most people realize. Your subconscious creates emotional attachments through familiarity. One of the creepiest things about the subconscious mind is that it often forms emotional attachments not because something is healthy, but because it feels familiar. The human brain is naturally drawn toward what it recognizes, even when what feels familiar is painful, toxic, or emotionally damaging. Deep beneath conscious awareness, the subconscious constantly searches for patterns, environments, personalities, and emotional experiences that resemble what it has already known before. This happens because familiarity creates psychological predictability, and predictability feels safe to the subconscious. The brain evolved to reduce uncertainty whenever possible, so repeated exposure to certain people, behaviors, or emotional environments slowly builds attachment over time. The more familiar something becomes, the more emotionally comfortable it can begin to feel, regardless of whether it is actually good for you. This explains why people often struggle to leave unhealthy relationships, even when they consciously know they are unhappy. If emotional chaos, inconsistency, criticism, or emotional distance were familiar experiences earlier in life, the subconscious may later interpret those same patterns as strangely normal or emotionally attractive. At the same time, healthy relationships can initially feel uncomfortable simply because they are unfamiliar to the nervous system. Psychologists call part of this process the mere exposure effect, where repeated exposure increases emotional preference and trust. The subconscious quietly confuses recognition with safety. Over time, emotional familiarity becomes deeply wired into attraction, comfort, and attachment patterns. What makes this especially disturbing is how unconscious the process feels. Many people believe they are choosing relationships freely, while their subconscious is actually pulling them toward emotionally recognizable experiences from the past. Even suffering can feel difficult to leave when the nervous system has normalized it emotionally. Manipulators often exploit familiarity intentionally by creating routines, repeated emotional cycles, or constant presence to strengthen attachment gradually. In many cases, emotional attachment is not formed because something is truly healthy or meaningful. It forms because the subconscious feels safer holding on to what it already knows than stepping into emotional uncertainty it cannot predict. Your subconscious notices tension between people before conflict begins. One of the creepiest abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects hidden tension between people long before any open conflict actually starts. Even when conversations appear calm on the surface, your subconscious is constantly analyzing subtle emotional signals beneath the words. Small facial reactions, shifts in eye contact, forced smiles, silence patterns, posture changes, voice tension, and emotional energy flowing between individuals. Most of these signals happen too fast or too subtly for conscious awareness to fully notice, but your subconscious quietly absorbs them all. This is why you can sometimes walk into a room and instantly feel that something is wrong, even though nobody has said anything negative yet. The atmosphere feels heavier, conversations sound slightly forced, eye contact changes. Certain people avoid looking at each other directly. Your subconscious notices emotional friction before logic understands what caused it. Psychologists believe humans evolved this sensitivity because detecting social conflict early was critical for survival within groups. In ancient communities, Recognizing rising hostility before violence or division occurred could prevent danger. Because of this, the subconscious became highly skilled at reading emotional instability beneath outward behavior. This hidden system explains why children often sense tension between parents before arguments happen openly. It explains why groups sometimes feel uncomfortable even during polite conversation. Emotional conflict leaks through body language and tone long before words openly reveal it. Manipulative individuals often attempt to hide resentment, jealousy, anger, or hostility behind controlled speech, but the subconscious still notices subtle inconsistencies beneath the performance. Tiny pauses, tightened facial muscles, unnatural smiles, or emotionally charged silence quietly expose tension that conscious awareness may miss entirely. In many situations, your subconscious understands the emotional atmosphere between people before your conscious mind fully processes what is happening. By the time conflict becomes visible outwardly, your subconscious may have sensed it building long beforehand. Your subconscious changes your posture around dominant personalities. One of the strangest things about the subconscious mind is how quickly it alters your body language around people it perceives as dominant, powerful, or socially intimidating. Before your conscious mind fully notices what is happening, your posture may subtly shift in response to the other person's perceived authority. Your shoulders tighten, your movements become smaller, your head lowers slightly, or your body becomes more cautious without you intentionally deciding to do any of it. This hidden reaction happens because the subconscious constantly monitors social hierarchy beneath awareness. Humans evolved in groups where understanding dominance and status was essential for survival. As a result, the brain became highly sensitive to signals of confidence, aggression, authority, social power, and emotional control. The moment your subconscious identifies someone as dominant, it automatically adjusts your physical behavior to reduce conflict and increase social safety. This explains why many people unconsciously shrink themselves around strong personalities. Their voice softens, posture becomes less open, eye contact changes, and nervous habits appear without conscious control. Even highly confident individuals may experience subtle physical shifts around someone their subconscious views as more powerful. The terrifying part is that posture itself also affects emotions. Once the body physically enters a defensive or submissive state, the brain begins reinforcing feelings of insecurity, hesitation, or inferiority. In this way, the subconscious creates a feedback loop where physical posture quietly shapes emotional confidence. Dominant personalities often influence rooms without saying much, because human beings subconsciously react to presence, certainty, and emotional energy. Some people naturally command space, while others instinctively surrender it beneath awareness. This hidden psychological system quietly shapes conversations, workplaces, relationships, and social dynamics every day. In many situations, your posture is not simply reflecting confidence. It is reflecting how safe or threatened your subconscious feels in the presence of another person's perceived social power. Your subconscious makes your body react before your mind understands why. One of the most unsettling truths about the subconscious mind is that your body often reacts to situations long before your conscious mind understands what is happening. A sudden tightness in the chest, nervous stomach, racing heartbeat, muscle tension, goosebumps, or wave of anxiety can appear instantly while your conscious thoughts are still trying to figure out the reason behind the reaction. Your body receives the warning first. Your awareness arrives afterward. This happens because the subconscious constantly scans your environment for emotional meaning, danger, attraction, tension, and familiarity beneath conscious awareness. Every facial expression, tone of voice, movement, smell, and social cue is analyzed automatically in the background. The moment the subconscious detects something emotionally significant, it sends signals directly into the nervous system before logical thinking fully processes the situation. That is why people sometimes feel uneasy around someone before they can explain why. Their body reacts first through discomfort, alertness, or tension, while the conscious mind struggles to identify the source. In other moments, excitement, attraction, fear, or sadness can suddenly rise without warning because the subconscious connected the present moment to older emotional memories hidden beneath awareness. Scientists believe this rapid reaction system evolved for survival. Early humans who responded quickly to danger were more likely to stay alive than those who waited for careful logical analysis. Because of this, the subconscious still prioritizes fast emotional reactions over rational understanding. The terrifying part is how invisible this process feels. Most people assume their emotions begin with conscious thoughts, but often the opposite is true. The body reacts first, then the conscious mind creates explanations afterward. In many situations, your subconscious has already decided something feels safe, dangerous, attractive, or emotionally threatening long before you consciously understand what triggered the reaction inside you. Your subconscious notices hidden jealousy in conversations. One of the strangest abilities of the subconscious mind is how quickly it detects jealousy hiding underneath normal conversation. People often try to disguise envy behind politeness, humor, fake support, or casual remarks, but the subconscious is constantly scanning for emotional inconsistencies beneath words. Tiny changes in tone, facial tension, eye movement, timing, enthusiasm, and emotional energy can quietly reveal resentment long before anything openly hostile is said. This is why certain compliments sometimes feel strangely uncomfortable instead of reassuring. Someone may congratulate you while sounding emotionally cold, dismissive, forced, or subtly irritated underneath. The words appear supportive on the surface, yet your subconscious notices emotional conflict hidden inside the delivery. You may leave the interaction feeling uneasy without fully understanding why, because the subconscious already detected signs of concealed jealousy. Human beings evolved to become highly sensitive to social competition because status, attention, resources, and acceptance once directly affected survival. As a result, the subconscious constantly monitors social interactions for hidden rivalry, resentment, or shifts in emotional hierarchy. Jealousy often leaks through behavior people cannot fully control. Forced smiles, delayed reactions, passive-aggressive comments, sudden distance, lack of genuine excitement, or subtle attempts to minimize achievements can all signal hidden envy beneath social politeness. What makes this especially disturbing is that jealousy is frequently strongest among people who appear closest to you. Friends, coworkers, relatives, or acquaintances may consciously care about you while subconsciously struggling with comparison, insecurity, or resentment triggered by your success, attention, happiness, or growth. Manipulative individuals often hide jealousy carefully because openly expressing it threatens social image. Instead, it surfaces indirectly through sarcasm, emotional withdrawal, subtle criticism, or disguised negativity that the subconscious immediately notices even when the conscious mind tries to ignore it. In many conversations, your subconscious is silently reading emotional truth underneath carefully controlled words. Long before obvious conflict appears, it often senses hidden jealousy through emotional tension. Most people cannot completely conceal, no matter how hard they try.